Partly sunny, hot, moderate humidity going through our Tuesday afternoon. Just a tiny chance of a pop-up thunderstorm. Most will not see anything at all. 95 for the high. Tonight, mostly clear, 69. Wednesday and Thursday, partly sunny, hot, moderate humidity. A spot storm possible each day, and each day, 95. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Okay, hang on here. Hang on. Trying to get the headphones plugged. There we go. There we go. What the heck was I doing here today? I'm not sure what happened there, but I thought I was ready to go. I think what threw me off. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, as I was trying to, you can hear me moving around the microphone and everything. My phone is just like frozen. Okay, there it was. It was just frozen where it wouldn't do anything. You know how that happens sometimes. Ethan, how are you?
Peachy.
Ethan's looking at me like, what the hell are you doing, dude? I've got all this set up for you. Everything should have been smooth. And
platter.
It just
Silver
did not,
platter.
Yeah, it didn't happen. I didn't execute here at the beginning of the show. The Hall of Famer, Fred, is here in the studio, of course. How are you, Fred?
I'm good. I'm
Fred
worn out.
Oppenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen.
Just from everything that's been happening the last couple of days?
Yeah, I know. Just today.
Usually I would introduce Sue first, but she was kind of settling in as well.
I had to get my blanket.
Yeah, I know. I did get the blanket too. I've been here for a little while, and then of course you walk into the frozen tundra here in this studio. Yeah. So what I understand, it's Wiggins' birthday today. Is that what happened?
Yes, it is Ryan Wiggins' birthday. My birthday was last Friday, and Annie's show did something very creative where Annie last week came to me. She said, listen, I know today's your birthday. Let's put off celebrating it until Ryan's birthday, which is actually on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So we can kind of overshadow his birthday with your birthday.
Oh.
So Trisha comes in with a cake and a cake pop, and she says, they're setting it all up. Happy birthday, Ethan. They gave me this big cake.
Big, beautiful cake.
And they give Ryan Wiggins this tiny little cake.
Cake. Look how he's treated on that show. Although at least that show acknowledged your birthday. We were forced to. we forgot about it until he brought it up during Sue's News, Fred.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, man, I got to write. Even when I write notes in my stupid iCal, I still forget about things all the time. So I don't know. That is just the way it is.
I'm not good with it. I'm just not.
Like with the calendar thing.
Well, calendar stuff, yes, and but
remembering birthdays.
Yeah,
everything. Well, that's where Facebook actually helps. Ethan, I don't think we're friends on Facebook, are we? We should, because honestly, one of the only things that that's probably good advice.
Mark, I'm pretty sure at one point I requested you as a friend on Facebook. I don't know if you've answered me back.
No, and you know why though is because there's a lot of people out there probably have
Feelings
done
are
that.
hurt.
I don't do a lot. Every once in a while, like there'll be a random day where I'll go through. I'm like, oh, there's like 150 friend requests, and then I'll just say, okay, whatever. But then that comes back to haunt me sometimes, just because I'm letting listeners and everyone else in. It really doesn't matter. But I don't do much on Facebook. I've made that clear. Really, I kind of post things about the bunny. And my wife's birthday was the other day, so I posted about that. But I don't do anything. It's so toxic. They've been talking about this the last few days, how toxic social media is, and it is.
A cool feature though that Apple phones will have is when you text someone, and maybe Androids do or Samsungs do, but when you text someone happy birthday, Apple will give you the option to update on like their contact, their birthday.
Right.
And if you click update, it will pop up on your iCalendar that it's that person's birthday.
No, and I get that and everything, but then you got to look at your iCal.
Do you know?
That's
I look
the
at
part
mine
that
every
I don't
day.
do.
I use mine religiously.
Yeah,
so that's
well,
why.
you should. I think that's the whole purpose of a calendar. I miss meetings and appointments on a regular basis, and it's because I don't look at my iCal. All right, well, we got a lot to get to. Fred said he's been very busy. There's been a lot of activity when it comes to the, I'd say, the information about the shooter and the assassin of Charlie Kirk. And again, I don't like to say his name. Salena Zito was on the stage last July in Butler. Her book, Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland, came out about 3 months ago. I saw Salena, Fred, you were gone last week, but I saw her on social. She got very emotional. And I think she admitted, we'll ask her about this. Look, the emotion kind of came out in this moment because in the situation with the president, well, first of all, nobody died. Well, that's not true, actually.
Yeah,
but the president wasn't killed live on TV. But she even said, she was covering that story. So it was part of part of her job, and I think that she did get pretty emotional. James Fishback is going to join us a little later this hour. He is, I meant to have him on last week, and we had to cancel him because of what happened with Charlie Kirk, and he kind of dug into some of those jobs numbers that were revised significantly. So we got that coming up. We have a bunch of other things, including Brad Young. Ian Sherr is going to update us on some Apple and iPhone news in the latter part of the show. And we'll, of course, have an audio cut of the day. But we had a news conference today from Utah. And there's a text exchange that is read by Jeff Gray, who is he the police chief, Fred?
No, he's the Utah County attorney.
He's like the prosecutor.
Right.
Okay. So they go up there today and he kind of lays some of this stuff out there and gives details. Now, I have to play this because this was not on the CBS Evening News. This was on like the whatever stream they have for the CBS Evening News. I think they call it CBS Evening News Plus or something like that, right?
Right.
And Fox has, like, you can watch Fox News, but I remember during the fires early this year, they had something on YouTube TV where it was like Fox Plus, and you could see different coverage from across the country. It was just handled differently, and it was on a different station. So I don't know if this is just streaming or whatever it is, but John Dickerson is the guy you're going to hear, who used to be the anchor of the CBS Evening News, and they sort of put him into a different responsibility, different assignment. Who knows? But this is yesterday. Okay. Like all last week and through the weekend, you had people on the left trying to convince the American public, because look, people on our side, we get it. Why did this happen to Charlie Kirk? Oh, there's a big mystery, right? This guy hated him because of his position on everything, including the trans issue. No, that can't be. This is a guy who is to the right of Charlie Kirk. He wanted to silence him because of Nick Fuentes, the Christian white nationalist, white supremacist. That's what this was all about, right? Well, no, I don't think so. It's pretty clear here. Let's look at the bullet casings that say, hey, fascists, catch me, right? So is there mystery around that? Well, John Dickerson at CBS News, at least up until last night, the narrative has changed significantly here, goes on and says this.
5 days after Charlie Kirk's murder, the shooter's motive remains elusive. No writings left behind, vague secondhand testimony. That uncertainty and the risk of drawing sweeping conclusions suggests the murder may share similarities with recent violence not driven by an obvious political ideology.
Nope, not at all.
The FBI recently recognized a new category, nihilistic violent extremism. For tonight's interview, we are joined by Matthew Kreiner, the Executive Director of the Institute for Countering Digital Extremism.
No, we are not joined by Matthew Kreiner, because I'm not going to play that, but it's just ridiculous that he can go on with a straight face. This is another example of Hall of Fame level journalistic malpractice. I would love to, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll figure out how to tune into John Dickerson's little broadcast that pairs with the CBS Evening News and see what he said about Jeff Gray, who, and I'm just saying that when I was coming in a couple hours ago, he was reading this text message exchange. It was riveting, right? This is the most information that we've gotten. We've had some things that have leaked out about this. Some of the things that had leaked out that were confusing. For example, remember, Fred, in the aftermath, you might not remember this because you were off last week, but Sue, in the aftermath of this, there were two things that were confusing. One, Kash Patel goes on there and he says, look, we got a guy in suspect, and then that guy was released. I have some information about him that's interesting, but they also had reported that the father was a minister and also a deputy sheriff. So that's where some of the early, but see, this is where the early reporting sort of gets off the rails, and there's some truth to that. So his father apparently, I think, was a minister, but there was a deputy sheriff, a friend of the family, who got involved, because what happened was, and Fred, you correct me if I'm wrong on any of this.
I thought it was a marshal. Was that a false story too?
I don't know. Today's news conference said it was a former sheriff.
Yeah, former sheriff's deputy. So what they said happened is that, and this is where I'll get into some of the audio here, is that after this occurs, he hides the weapon. I mean, Fred, let me start with this here. Don't you think it sounded from the text exchange that this kid thought he was going to get off scot-free?
He thought he left no evidence behind.
He didn't think
the gun.
So he was worried because he wrapped the gun in the towel. He was worried that his fingerprints were on there, and he said, I got to get the gun. He was even texting that there was a patrol car that was stationed nearby.
Wow.
And he thought, and he tells the roommate that if in fact I can get the gun, and he goes, I was going to try to keep this secret till the day I died, which may come a little sooner rather than later.
Wow.
In this case. So the roommate, who is trans, like biological male, transitioning to become a female. That's confusing to me because if the shooter is attracted to the male, I can't account for that. But that plays a big role here. There was something that happened yesterday that was confusing. There are a lot of things that have happened confusing. Wait a second. You're telling me that there was a note that was left, but that was a piece of evidence that was destroyed? How does that happen? You remember hearing that at all?
I do.
Okay, so that was cleared up a little bit. So he texts why he thinks that the text messages aren't going to, stand the test of time, because he's telling the roommate to delete all this stuff. But underneath the keyboard of the computer, there was a note where he basically admitted to doing this. And I think he told the roommate to destroy the note. I also think that the roommate took a picture of the note, which is why we know what was on. That's what I heard. Did you hear that a little bit, Fred?
Well,
I think that's what happened.
The roommate was helpful in turning him over, yes, or at least
yes.
cooperative.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
It was. They named the guy today. Now, I'm a little worried about that because it does seem that the parents, and not only the father, but they made very clear that the mother was involved in this, in encouraging, her son to turn him in. Because what happened was he wanted to off himself. He says that to, his dad. They convince him to come to the house. The friend of the family is involved there, and that's when they get to the point where they're going to turn him in. So some questions that came up with Jeff Gray.
Mr. Gray, Garrett Tenney with Fox News. Do you have any indication that transgender issues played a role in the motivations for this shooter?
I'm going to stick to what I just stated in my public, in our information. I think that is pretty much set forth there.
Mr. Gray, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News. Just asking, are you planning to file additional charges against anyone else in connection with this?
Again, we don't have any information at this point of additional suspects, but I know that our law enforcement agencies are continuing to follow leads.
One of the things that was interesting is there is no conspiracy that's being unrolled here. They seem to think it's, these things change, that it is one shooter. He was the guy. And one of the questions was, well, how long, you make assumptions in these situations. How long did he plan this? How long would you guess, Sue?
I would guess a long time.
Yeah, it was a week.
Oh my God.
That's what the roommate asked him. And he says about a week. And clearly he did it because he felt that Charlie Kirk was full of hate. He was spreading a hateful message. And that was certainly affirmed today. Someone should send that to John Dickerson. Salena Zito is going to have a lot to say on this. I want to hear her thoughts. She's coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads this afternoon, if you are just leaving the office, it looks like westbound 70 has kind of just the usual volume. So if you're leaving downtown, it looks good. In fact, it looks great all the way on out. It just slows at Wentzville. Now, eastbound 70, there was a jam. It's kind of halfway between Warrenton and Wright City. An incident reported there. Westbound 6440, moderate volume, Hampton out through McCausland and at 270. And then in pockets west of 94 out through the 70 split. That's what we've got on southbound 270, moderate volume, headed down toward Ladue Road. At 55 is slowing in pockets south of Arsenal through Revis Barracks. Now, things are fine on the Poplar Street Bridge, but westbound 5570, they've got lanes down between Exchange and 203, and that is causing a delay. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice. They transform homes inside and out. Kitchens, baths, windows, siding. They do quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, you have probably heard me talking about Generac generators and Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. And this is the time. Don't put it off because, look, even if you're just curious, like, I can't afford that. Well, maybe you can. They have financing available and payment plans as well. And if you want to give yourself peace of mind at your home, so then when there's an ice storm or a tornado or, a wreck in your neighborhood that knocks out a transformer, whatever the reason might be, let's face it, could be the power grid failing, that you don't have to worry about it. They have an outstanding reputation, and a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer, is just a phone call away. They do have a retail location out in Chesterfield on the Airport Road. These are top-notch generators. They're not portable generators. They are installed the right way. They are maintained, and that's an important part of this because, like with any other piece of equipment, including your HVAC and your car, you have to have some service work, and they do the service work at Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. So call today, 314-499-2020, The website, Generator, Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Celebrate September with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Take advantage of these huge savings. Spell it forward or backwards, it spells the same, Zero Res. Mark Cox here. Let me introduce you to my friends at the Lit Cigar Lounge in St. Louis, where luxury meets comfort. Premium hand-rolled cigars, an extensive selection of rare bourbons and whiskeys and craft cocktails. It's comfortable for non-smokers, too. They have a state-of-the-art ventilation system. They have private lockers and live music every Friday night, perfect for date nights or business meetings or just winding down. Visit litstl.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, I'm going to air, Brad Young's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. I'm going to air the entire exchange about the text messages because I only played a little bit of the audio and I thought it was very revealing from the prosecutor, Jeff Gray. So we'll get to that here in a couple hours because I don't ordinarily do that. You know, that would be something maybe suited for audio cut of the day, but it's so compelling and there's a fair amount of information that comes out of that we'll air that a little bit later this afternoon. Salena Zito is back with us, columnist, of course, for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Washington Examiner. She's got a book out that has been highly successful, #1 New York Times bestseller list, Butler, The Untold Story of the Near Assassination of Donald Trump and the Fight for America's Heartland. She was on that stage in Butler last July. Salena, how are you this afternoon?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I know that from watching some interviews that you did in some social media that this really impacted you a lot more emotionally. I don't know if it was more than you expected, but differently than what happened in Butler last year. Is that accurate to say?
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. There have been, you know, since the book came out, since that moment happened, and a lot of people have been curious, so how did this impact you? And I said, I didn't cry. I don't know why, meaning what happened in Butler. How did it, impact you? However, I don't know if it's pent up. I don't know if it was the similarity. I was watching it live. I don't know if it was hearing the gunshots, which, actually shouldn't trigger me because I go shooting. So I don't know what it was, but man, this hit me really hard. I was just really broken up about it. I still am. I still can't believe he's gone. This is a kid that I've known since he was 18 years old. And just, this is someone I see the influence he's had, and I see him reflected in a lot of the young people that I've covered in the past year and a half who have been drawn towards the conservative movement, but also drawn towards faith and purpose. And he was just a good guy.
Some of the reaction has been horrific, but let's focus on the positive here for a little bit, because I know you wrote about the spiritual angle of this. I have admitted several times, and even a couple of guests have admitted, that I underestimated the influence I think that Charlie had on all these younger Americans. You might have been more dialed into that, but the aftermath has been fascinating from a variety of perspectives. Again, trying to keep the positive note here. We'll get to all the other crap in a second, but the amount of professional sports teams that have honored him, musicians and artists that have. I saw Bruce Pearl, the coach of the Auburn Tigers, on yesterday morning talking about Charlie Kirk. So there have been a lot of things in the aftermath of this last week that have been very positive and very inspirational to a certain extent, Salena.
Yeah, absolutely. If you read the book, Butler, and I hope people do, because it's not just about that moment. It's about what was going on in the country that people weren't paying attention to, including, and I detail this in the book, about how the movement of young people and how Charlie was part of that. So I was very aware of his influence. I saw it in all the young people that I interviewed. And so, and these are young people. I went to my own parish on Sunday, which was out the door. It's a little country parish. And I went down to a non-denominational, and they had a full-on revival. Kids were coming from the busloads from the local colleges, from the University of Pittsburgh, from Duquesne University, from Chatham, Point Park University. There's like a whole confluence of universities there in the city of Pittsburgh. It was a very diverse crowd, and a crowd that was there to say, we are bold and unafraid. And it was a very powerful moment.
So I played this in my open, but I have to play this for you in case you haven't heard it. This is John Dickerson, not on the CBS Evening News, but on what they sort of, I think, do online and they stream. So it's like a CBS Evening News Plus. And here is John Dickerson yesterday.
5 days after Charlie Kirk's murder, the shooter's motive remains elusive. No writings left behind, vague secondhand testimony. That uncertainty and the risk of drawing sweeping conclusions suggests the murder may share similarities with recent violence not driven by an obvious political ideology.
Now, they make the case that we may never know why he did this, why this kid did this in Utah. And it's been pretty clear to most of us from the start. It became even more clear if you saw that news conference this morning. But good Lord, here we go again with this media nonsense the last week, which has been incredible, Salena.
Yeah, it's really stunning. And I shouldn't be stunned. I shouldn't be, I have been on the air and people have said to me, was Donald Trump really shot, Salena? Did that really happen? And this sort of goes right up there with that kind of line of speculation. And that's not our job as journalists. Our job is to report the facts as they are. It's not our job to insert our opinion or our wish or to wish cast. And that's how it's coming across. Now, maybe 5 years ago, my profession could get away with this, maybe even 2 years ago, but not anymore.
So you're telling me that when you've been on set and you've been in interviews when there have been moments where the camera mic's on, people have actually asked you that?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Well, that puts that in a whole new category for me. I will say that because I know there's a lot of crazy
put
out
in
there.
A whole new category for me too.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that, well, I may not have a poker face. At least I know not to just, blurt out what I think of someone when they do that.
So the only person in the entire Democrat Party, Salena, that seems to be making sense and saying things that are right here and being cautious is John Fetterman. He's the only one. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because John Fetterman's just grounded in reality. He's a guy who lives in Braddock, Pennsylvania, right? He doesn't live in some cushy suburb. If you look up Braddock, Pennsylvania, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get what she's saying. And it is so unbelievably ridiculous that there's only one Democrat that is being normal about this. And it's truly confounding because I don't think that Democrats and or my profession understand the larger impact that the way they're behaving is having on the country. They think that all the criticism that they hurl at the administration, they think all the shenanigans they've done around the death of Charlie Kirk is resonating, and it's only resonating in their cocktail group. It's not resonating in the people that actually decide elections.
Yeah, and that's an area of expertise that you've certainly had for the last 10 years. And John Fetterman is connected in that way because he sees how real people react to this. Yeah. So then you have, let me get this in here because I'm not a particular fan of, people being exposed online if they're your average ordinary, as I put it, nose-ringed, pink hair wearing barista at Starbucks. But you do have a lot of people in official positions, government positions, Secret Service, military, education, academia, who have just reacted to this online publicly in horrific ways. And some of them are losing their jobs. Now, you have stories. I think I saw a story in the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, all about this angle today. And there is a bit of a, dividing line, I think, there where you need to be cautious. But what would you say about the reaction and the rhetoric and the vileness of some of this costing people their livelihoods?
Okay. Well, young people, we're basically ding-dongs until we're about 25 years old, right? Our brains aren't formed. And as long as you are not a helper, remember Mr. Rogers saying, go to the helpers, right? Because those are the people that will hurt, protect you. As long as they are not helpers like a police officer, a fireman, a doctor, a teacher, someone that has great influence on providing you care and crafting who you become. I'm not into anybody being docs like that. They're just fools. However, if it is someone that is, say, a doctor and wishes everyone associated with Trump or Charlie Kirk also dies a horrific death, then it's like, oh, okay, do I really want this person caring for me? Like, what if I got in a car accident and came in with a MAGA hat on?
Yeah, it's a legit question. It is a legitimate question. So you've differentiated those two exceptionally well. And that's kind of the way I feel about it as well. Salena, great to have you on. I know it's been a rough week, but I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care. I want to play John Fetterman just real quick before the break and I played maybe a small portion of this yesterday, but this, again, why is he the only Democrat saying stuff like this?
Kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course.
When you hear some Democrats saying Trump is acting like an autocrat.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is just that. You just don't ever compare anyone to Hitler and those kinds of extreme things. Now, look what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, the man was shot. Now, we have to turn the temperature down. It's like we can't compare people to these kinds of figures in history. And this is not an autocrat. This is a product of a democratic election.
Yeah, and let's not forget, though, the people who are making the comparisons to Hitler, and he's right about that. How can we just stay out of that business, right? Are all in leadership positions on the left, including the former president and vice president.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you are on the Illinois side, watch out for some volume. Now, this is westbound 5570, but we've got a couple lanes down for road work between Exchange and 203, and that's causing a delay. On the Missouri side, it's the usual volume. Westbound 70 looks great out of downtown, but slows out at Highway A through Wentzville. We are quiet through North County on 270. We've got northbound 170 a little slow at Airport Road. Southbound 270, mainly moderate volume, but it does stretch from Page down through Doherty Ferry. 55 is slowing right at Bayless. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
I own a little Bitcoin these days, mainly because I've learned about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin from Bitcoin Ben, who is a really interesting character. He was a truck driver. He got fascinated, very passionate about cryptocurrency years ago. He became an expert himself, and he wants to share that expertise with all of you. He shared a lot of this expertise with me at a dinner a couple of months back. I had a lot of questions. I often get confused, and I think it is a confusing topic. But the new club that he's bringing here to St. Louis, he's got 6 nationwide, a couple in Florida. He's spots, one in Nashville, one in Las Vegas. The 7th Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club is coming to St. Louis. And if you want to find out more about this, go to bitcoinben.io. You can learn about what crypto is, how to safely store it, how to buy it, how to avoid scams, all of these things and more. And it is a little confusing, but you want experts who are passionate about it. That's what you're going to get with Bitcoin Ben and his TV. You want to find out more about the club? Go to bitcoinben.io today.
This is Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. When I tell people who get in a crash, call a lawyer, but I often hear, I'm not the suing type. Listen, there are all types of people. Personally, I'm not the getting screwed type. If you're not the getting screwed type, call my firm, and we'll make sure that doesn't happen to you. Call Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
If you or someone you know has a home to sell, call Gloria Lou. That's right, Gloria Lou, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria is here with me now. And when it comes to St. Louis area market conditions, what advice do you have for your home sellers in today's market?
Well, most importantly, I understand every seller's situation is different. Some sellers need to sell, and some sellers want to sell. And a lot of my sellers are looking to buy, and they also have a home to sell. My advice in this uncertain market is to get an upfront written guarantee. That way, you know exactly how much you stand to make with your home sale. My guarantee sale offer is simple. I'll sell your home at 100% of market value, or I'll pay you the difference.
Take it from me, Mark Cox, an actual client. Sell with certainty and an upfront guarantee with Gloria Lou. Call 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. That's GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
Hello from Pro Outdoor, your #1 irrigation and sprinkler team. Aeration and overseeding season is here to repair summer brown spots. Make sure your sprinkler system is tuned up to water in that fresh seed. We're running fall specials on aeration, overseeding, and new residential sprinkler installs within 2 weeks. Call 636-695-7800 or visit ProOutdoor.com to see all our services. That's 636-695-7800.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Midwest Made. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sue, I had a few extra minutes this morning, so I started going down the Charlie Sheen documentary rabbit hole. Oh my goodness.
I'm not sure I could take it. Is it absorbing? Is it just so weird?
It's absorbing. The thing with a lot of these documentaries that I pointed out on Netflix and Max, and some of them are good, they do multiple parts, right? It's like 3-4 parts. And sometimes you get away, you're like, man, that could have been an hour and 15-minute documentary.
Yes.
You didn't need to drag that out. This one, I think, is 2 parts. And my sense is by the end, I'm going to say, I want more.
Wow.
Because we love the train wrecks, right? And, he's pretty compelling because he's just shooting straight and telling the story as he remembers it. One of the things that is fascinating, and I think you brought this up recently, is that he was potentially cast to be in the Ralph Macchio role for the Karate Kid, and his dad talked him out of it. Martin talked him out of it because he had this other commitment to a show and said, look, you gave your word.
Yeah.
But he ended up doing okay because he has that bit part in Ferris Bueller.
And that's right.
That's what changed. He was friends with Jennifer Grey. He was even showing up late to the set that day. But I'll get back to more of that because it is pretty interesting. It really is. James Fishback is with us this afternoon. He's been a guest many times on the show. He's founder and executive director of Incubate Debate. How are you, James? Welcome back to the show this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
I've been meeting, and I so apologize, but you understand the news cycle. We had you scheduled a couple of times to talk about this story that I'm very interested in about the Bureau of Labor Statistics that I think got buried a little bit in all of the news about Charlie last week. But I would be remiss in my duty if I didn't ask you a little bit to reflect on what's happened this past week, especially since, you have focused on, and the way I started getting you on this show is about some of the things that were happening in the world of high school debate, which had gone woke. And here was a guy who was known for debating people civilly in public on a regular basis.
That's exactly right. And I saw Charlie a month ago, and I still can't believe it's real. For all your listeners who know what Charlie stood for, he stood for free speech and open debate, resolving our differences. His campus tour was entitled Prove Me Wrong. He was the only person who really gave the left a real platform to be able to air out their ideas, and then he would calmly, respectfully, logically respond. And it was through that clash of ideas we found that American conservatism was right and right again. And so it's been a tough week, not just for conservatives, but I even think for most Americans. Obviously, there's a minority of people who want to celebrate and glorify assassination, but they're going to be handled with, and you're seeing them lose their jobs and being held accountable, and that's what should happen.
Yeah, and then there's, there have been things that really have been surprising in a good way to me, with some of the professional sports franchises and musicians and artists taking time, and you could hear the crowd reaction, which, in many situations when politics is brought up, there's boos, and maybe there were some boos, but I even saw just a slate that went up on Fox here as I was welcoming you in, that Jamie Lee Curtis, who's no conservative, but made some very emotional statements that were appropriate, not inappropriate, about the death of Charlie. So, the reaction and all of the aftermath of this is still to be determined. We found out a lot more information about the shooter today, but really, James, how do you feel it really affects the younger voting base, which, again, there were a lot of people, younger people. I think we all have figured out that there were a lot more of these younger people that were big fans, not just, casual fans of Charlie Kirk, but really, really loyal to him. And that's a movement that can't go away, but who kind of takes on the mantle now?
I think all of us do. I think all of us have an awesome responsibility to hold our own, to defend our views, but to do it in a respectful, factual, and logical way. And so when you say, well, who's going to replace Charlie Kirk, I think everyone listening to Mark Reardon right now has an opportunity to do that, right? So when Donald Trump comes up at the dinner table, or abortion or affirmative action comes up at the water cooler, we have an opportunity and an obligation, I think, to honor Charlie and to say, look, how can I respond? How can I give people the benefit of the doubt? How can I be curious? And how can I use debate as a means to persuade? And that's what I think we'll be able to do in honoring Charlie's legacy.
Yeah, very well stated. James Fishback is with me this afternoon. All right, so let's go to this. This is a pretty significant economic story about the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And a week ago, and again, it got kind of eclipsed by a lot of things that were happening in the news cycle, but we saw that the BLS had to admit that there were 911,000 jobs, almost 1 million jobs that Joe Biden and his administration claimed to have created that were never created at all. I mean, we see government numbers that are off and we see revisions all the time, but these are some pretty big revisions, aren't they?
They're massive. I mean, just to give you an idea, there were 950,000 jobs created in actuality, and the government said there was 1.8 million. They overstated it by nearly double, by nearly 100%. This is not an error rate of 1 to 3%. It's an error rate of 100%. And so for anybody at home who was called the tinfoil conspiracy theorist for saying the government cooked the books under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's watch, once again, we've been proven right. The BLS was forced to admit that job creation in 2024 was half of what they told us it was. Imagine President Trump won the historic victory he did with the cooked books from Biden. Imagine how much of a bigger victory, Mark, it would have been had we had actually had some economic sense. But I think it confirmed what many of your listeners know to be true, that the Bidenomics was really a scam. It was a hoax. And this idea that it was the economy stupid, yeah, we believe that. But what we were told by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris was, no, you're stupid. The economy's perfect. If you try to question the numbers, it turns out we were right again.
So here's the line in the aftermath of this report from All Things Considered on the now defunded, National Public Radio. Last month, the president, fired the previous BLS head after a weaker than expected jobs report, claiming without evidence that the agency was manipulating the numbers to make the economy under his term look bad. Well, it certainly looks like the claims had some evidence at this point, doesn't it?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think at the end of the day, you have to look at a very, very simple thing. If you were missing the jobs numbers by 100%, Mark, if you said that there were 5 apples and it turns out there were only 2 apples, you deserve to be fired as an apple farmer. If I said there were 2 Pringles and there was actually 5 Pringles, I deserve to be fired as a Pringles manufacturer. It's no different whether you're in agriculture, whether you're a white collar or blue collar worker. Why do federal bureaucrats think they can overstate the job numbers, which inform everything from the stock market to company planning, et cetera, and not be held accountable? President Trump has made clear that no one can escape accountability, and we need a BLS commissioner. I believe that to be E.J. Antoni, who's now set to replace the Biden commissioner. He'll be Senate confirmed hopefully here in the next month or so to deliver some real clarity and accuracy to an organization known as the BLS.
I mean, you go across the board here, whether it's the CDC, other government entities, or here with the BLS. I mean, the lack of trust issue certainly is not being reinforced in a positive direction, heading the other way. We're only losing more trust in these institutions.
That's exactly right. This is the latest domino to fall. Obviously, we've seen it before with the CDC, obviously most recently with them trying to undermine and collude against Secretary Kennedy. But at the end of the day, this is a validation of many things. It's a validation that the president was right when he said in 2024 that the Biden economy is not as strong as the so-called experts and statisticians had said. And second, it is an indictment of the government statistician complex. Don't believe what you hear. Remember the 100% accuracy in the Pfizer mRNA vaccine? Very, very similar to the 100% overstatement in the jobs numbers in 2024.
What do you think this means then for the overall economy? If you go back, I spent a little time on this last week because I'll put myself in slightly the panicking department, because when the stock market starts to unwind, we all think about our 401ks and what's going to happen. But I even told a friend of mine in March, and I put this day on the calendar for September 12th. It was March 12th. I said, let's take a look at this in 6 months and where we are. And of course, the Dow was at 41,000 on March 12th. On last Friday, it was at 46 almost. And I haven't checked where it is today. But the point is, there were a lot of people that were predicting at the time we're going to head into a recession. A lot of experts, right? There are some economic warning signs out there. I wouldn't, deny that. But where do you think that this story kind of plays in the bigger picture of where the economy is?
Well, I think the economy is in great shape. And the truth is that when you think about what has happened in just the past 8 months, the president has brought in $12 trillion of new investment. The jobs numbers that you see every single month don't tell the full picture. You got to pop open the hood. When you pop open the hood, you find that when you deport 1 million people and when you self-deport 1 million more, that people who have jobs, according to the government economic figures, are going to lose those jobs. They're going to show up as layoffs. And so, yes, there's going to be a degree of layoffs associated with self-deportation, mass deportation, and the fact that we had upwards of 200,000 people coming into the country every month under Biden, and we don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
So what we've seen since the president took office is 2.5 million American-born, native-born workers now have jobs today than they did on January 20th. That is a massive coup. We saw the retail sales numbers this morning as well. They were 3 times higher, Mark, 3 times higher than the Wall Street expert consensus. The jobs numbers have to be understood in the broader context. And the broader context is this economy is firing on all cylinders, and it's still very early. Let's not forget, the big, beautiful bill was just passed into law a little more than 2 months ago. We have a ton of runway, and the golden age is here.
James Fishback, always great to have you on. Outstanding. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great week.
You as well.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, the accident eastbound 70 between Warrenton and Wright City, there are a lot of lane closures there and a huge jam in both directions, mostly eastbound, which of course is the direction that it happened. So if you are traveling between Wright City and Warrenton, it really is bad. In fact, eastbound, there is a jam headed for Warrenton itself. Now, that is the worst of it. Westbound 70 out of downtown, still not bad. Some moderate volume at Jennings Station Road, a little bit past the airport. 64 is lined up. It's approaching Hampton out through McCausland and then Lindbergh through Big Bend. A little bit at 94, and again, headed for the 70 split. Southbound 55 slowing at Bates, and moderate volume on southbound 270, but it's pockets from Dorset down through 64, and northbound is slowing at 40 itself. 55, that slowdown at Bates. Well, there's also some volume on westbound 44 in front of the Arch grounds. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. It's 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, let's talk a little bit about having some fun with Underdog Fantasy, which, of course, you can play in Missouri. And with football being back, and I'm a big football guy, Underdog really is the best place to make entries, win money all season long. You can play with as little as $1. And let me give you some examples. After you open up your account, you pick a username and a password, you put some money in the account because then you want to make some selections. So the Thursday night NFL game, there were two last night, the Bills and the Dolphins. So you can go to some of your favorite players. Josh Allen, how many touchdowns and receiving yards? How many passing yards? How many passing TDs or rushing yards? James Cook, running back for the Bills. You can pick some of the same things in the Champions game with that, rushing and receiving yards, receiving yards. How many receptions? You can go to the other side of the ball with Tua or Tyreek Hill. You don't have to make selections with all one game. You can make some selections on that game, go to some of the games for the weekend, or even mix and match with different sports. It is easy. If you get up online and mess around with it, I think you'll find out how easy it is and how much fun it is too. Download the app, sign up with the promo code MarkR. That gets you $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. Underdog, make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Bold, unapologetic, unfiltered. The Mark Cox Morning Show is covering the issues that matter to you. From borders to school boards, Mark Cox is St. Louis conservative.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
So, as many of you, if you're on the X formerly Twitter, you can always follow me at Mark Reardon, KFTK, and then Mark Talk on the Instagram to see some pictures of my bunny. You can also follow the bunny at Oreo Smorio the Bunny on Instagram, too. But I love the sites, and many people love End Wokeness and Libs of TikTok. Looks like End Wokeness has about 4 million followers right now. I think Libs of TikTok has a similar. Let's find out. That'd be interesting to see. 4 million for them, 4.4 for Libs of TikTok. So what they've been doing for a week now, not completely, not consistently on every feed, but there are a lot of different things relating to Charlie Kirk, and there's a lot of folks who have been outed on these sites. For example, here's one from just about a half an hour ago. It says, breaking, Katie Allen, who worked for the Kansas Department of Education and wrote that Charlie's assassination was well-deserved, has been fired. She's also a former chair of the Riley County Democrat Party. And you can go on down the list and you can see teachers, healthcare workers, other members of the, here's one, Ambler, PA tax collector and local Democratic Party leader calls for more assassinations and violence. I'm so tired of being told that violence isn't the answer. History is filled with blood. Let's make some more myths. And let's make some more martyrs. So she has now, she's resigned as the vice chair of the Democrat Party. But look, some of this stuff is going to end up going too far, I think. And that's where I have some concerns. I think it was stated very well by Salena Zito earlier in this hour that the people who are supposed to be leaders, whether they're teachers or doctors or, public officials, do have to be held to a higher standard. But then you got Pam Bondi out there. And this is, I think, concerning to very many libertarian conservatives like myself, because look, if you go to my timeline right now, you want to open this thing up and say all these hate, vile things you're going to prosecute. I guarantee you can go through my Twitter timeline from the last 15 years and find things that somebody, especially in England or in Australia, because they're literally locking people up, arresting people for things that they say that are deemed insensitive or inappropriate on social media. Guarantee you there are people, because people have made the case. I've had people on the left, you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe, all these things. So Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, says this.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Yeah, but so hate speech is one thing, and hate speech is protected by the Constitution. I know many of you don't want to hear that. This is why I don't agree with President Trump on the flag burning deal, because the Constitution guarantees that right. It's vile. It's reprehensible. It's different if you're inciting violence or a riot or something along those lines. But in this particular case, I'm concerned about Pam Bondi.
That's horrific. It's free speech, that you shouldn't be employed anywhere if you're going to say that. And employers, you have an obligation to get rid of people. You need to look at people who are saying horrible things, and they shouldn't be working with you. Businesses cannot discriminate. If you want to go in and print posters with Charlie's pictures on them for a vigil, you have to let them do that. We can prosecute you for that. I have Harmeet Dillon right now in our civil rights unit looking at that immediately, that Office Depot had done that. We're looking at that.
So you have, again, countless examples. If you go to some of these sites that I'm mentioning, like Libs of TikTok, they have been almost every 10 minutes, half hour, you name it, posting a new person who has said something hateful. Like there's one up here from Bridget Sullivan, who's an athletic trainer at Wake Forest University. And she posts, he had it coming. The audio is all I have to say about that. I'm not sure what audio, but there's all kinds of things where people are up there saying things, and I think all you have to do is open up your Facebook timeline. You're going to see that. I don't want all these people being prosecuted. I don't want the Justice Department to go out against people on Facebook saying stupid stuff, because people say stupid stuff, and it is constitutionally protected. Now, you put some of these political leaders, certainly teachers, professors, people in academia, there are consequences for your free speech. So I will give you your free speech. You have the right to say these things, but you also have the right to be, given consequences for your behavior. I'll guarantee you, if I would do something, now I'm in a public position, a little different, Sue, but if I would post anywhere near on this topic or something similar to what I've seen some of these healthcare professionals, teachers, et cetera, I'd be shown the door. Wouldn't even be close. Wouldn't even be marginal, right?
Yes, and businesses and schools, they have standards that you have to, as an employee, live up to, and you're not.
Well, they used to have that. We'll see. A lot of people are losing their job. There's no doubt about that. We have Sue's News on a Tuesday afternoon coming up after Fox News at 4.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a stall reported, and it's southbound 270 south of Dorset. Watch for that in the center lane. There was also a stall southbound 170 really close to Olive. It looks to me like that one is on the shoulder. Now, as far as volume goes, the worst of it is an accident eastbound 70 between Warrenton and Wright City. Major lane closures. Eastbound traffic is jammed back past Warrenton. Just a mess. Westbound is just slowing at the accident site. Southbound 270, moderate volume approaching Olive through Doherty Ferry. Slowing again, Gravois down through 21. Westbound 40 lines up, and this is Kings Highway out past McCausland. And we've got a jam on westbound 44 that runs right there in front of the Arch grounds in the depressed section to 55. On the Illinois side, westbound 5570 jams at 203. That's all due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I was supposed to play racquetball this morning at the MAC, Sue.
What happened?
My alarm did not go off, and I actually overslept. I had a little trouble getting to sleep last night, so I had to call the guy I was supposed to play and just beg him for forgiveness, which I did feel bad about it. But with the road closing, I couldn't make it, so we're going to reschedule. But the MAC has so many different things going on right now as we head into the fall. Squash is really big. They have international tournament that comes to the MAC West, and they're doing a women's squash week. So if you've ever wanted to learn the game, I've never played that. I've played pickleball. I really want to learn how to play padel, which is a game that's picking up, and I wouldn't mind, at least trying squash. They're giving women at the MAC an opportunity to get some skills behind them in an event coming up. And of course, a few weeks ago, we filled up a bus of supplies for books for STL kids because the Charitable Society for Children, which is an extension of the MAC Sports Foundation, looks at 3 charities, and we do as much as possible to be giving and generous to these charities. Books for STL Kids, Butterfly Kisses Alliance, Kids Smart, all on that list this year. We have nominations and a process undergoing right now for next year's charities, and you can always find out more at mac-stl.org for the Missouri Athletic Club.
We've been here 30 years. 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
He's due before a judge at this hour. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Charlie Kirk's accused assassin, Tyler Robinson, expected to appear virtually from the Utah County Jail, where he remains held without bail after County Prosecutor Jeff Gray announced 7 state charges, including aggravated murder, a capital offense that could mean the death penalty if he's convicted. Also, obstruction.
A second-degree felony for disposing the clothing he wore during the shooting.
And witness tampering.
A third-degree felony for directing his roommate to delete his incriminating texts.
Gray says the roommate provided the texts to investigators. Robinson's mother telling police her son was dating the roommate, who is transitioning.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented.
His mother also telling investigators Robinson implied during a call with his father that he planned to take his own life. They convinced him to meet at their home and ultimately helped facilitate his surrender, along with a family friend. 2 state terrorism charges are dropped against Luigi Mangione, who's charged in the death of a healthcare executive outside a New York City hotel. He's still facing a state murder charge and other counts in addition to federal charges, but the judge ruling there was insufficient evidence to meet that terrorism charge.
Mangione, of course, accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson last December as Thompson walked to a Midtown Manhattan healthcare conference. That's seen, prosecutors say, as a strike by Mangione against the alleged abuses of the country's healthcare industry.
Fox's Eric Shawn. A California judge rejects the Menendez brothers' bid for a new trial over claims of sexual abuse. This week's after each brother was denied parole. America is listening to Fox News.
Honey, that flu keeping you up? Did you take NyQuil Intense Flu?
Nah, I got this. Okay, I don't got this.
Yeah, you need NyQuil Intense Flu.
Undo your flu with NyQuil Intense Flu. NyQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms so you can sleep.
You do got this.
NyQuil Intense Flu. The nighttime sniffling, aching fever. Best sleep with the flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
There's nothing like when you get that part from eBay and it just fits. Yeah, the first time. So you can do less of this and get right back to more of this. At eBay, you'll find all the parts you need, guaranteed to fit, at prices you'll love. Sounds good, doesn't it? eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The September summer bake still in play. Partly sunny, hot, moderate humidity going through our Tuesday afternoon. Just a tiny chance of a pop-up thunderstorm. Most will not see anything at all. 95 for the high. Tonight, mostly clear. 69 Wednesday and Thursday. Partly sunny, hot, moderate humidity. A spot storm possible each day, and each day, 95. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, we have in Utah the assassination. They're saying suspect. Okay, the killer, Charlie Kirk's killer, is doing his first court appearance. And the way that they do this, and I heard this earlier, Fred, I don't know if you know this, it's they do it via Zoom or something.
Right,
it's video, and that's
yeah.
not unusual in cases out there. So here's what's going on as we are live here on 97.1 FM Talk.
A qualified attorney to represent you on your case, Mr. Robinson. Along with their filing of their appearance of counsel, the assigned attorneys must file declarations with the court that outline their qualifications under Rule 8 and Rule 8C. Under Rule 8B and Rule 8C for counsel appointment in a case where death may be a sentencing option. I'm ordering that those declarations be filed prior to the next hearing date, which is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. Mr. Robinson, I also wish to inform you of your rights against self-incrimination. Anything that you say in court today could be used against you, and we want to protect your constitutional rights. Mr. Robinson, at this time, you will remain in custody without bail. Mr. Skordas, is there any other points that you wish to address?
No, thank you very much, Your Honor.
Turning to the state.
Yes, Your Honor. Chad Grunander for the state. I'm also joined, and they're listed as attendees, Ryan McBride, Lauren Hunt, David Sturgill, and Chris Ballard. We are the trial team on this case. I do have a few points I'd like to bring up with Your Honor. We have filed a pretrial protective order on behalf of Erica Kirk. We would ask the court to review that. It should be in your queue, Your Honor, and sign that.
Thank you. I have reviewed the pretrial protective order and will be issuing this pretrial protective order in favor of Erica Kirk. Is there any other business that we need to address today, counsel?
Just for the court's information, we did file just recently within the last few minutes a notice of intent to seek the death penalty that was filed by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray. So that should be in the court's file. Lastly, I would just indicate to the court and to, at this point, Mr. Robinson, that we are prepared to collect all of the discovery in this matter and get that turned over to the defense as soon as possible. Rule 16 requires us to provide what we have relied on in charging the information in bringing these charges within 5 days once it's requested. So that'll be prepared to disseminate to the defense as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Grunander. Mr. Robinson, what I also want to do is you have the right to have the charges read that you stand charged of, and I wish to read those to you at this time.
Again, this is live in Provo, Utah. This is a feed from KSTU television out there. The judge is Tony
Mr.
Graff.
Robinson, for count 1, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76-3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment for life without parole or an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years that may be for life. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider as an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-11-210 sub 2 and 3C, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant Tyler James Robinson discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm and that the act caused serious bodily injury to Charlie Kirk. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Notice if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt that the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor. The sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent offense in the presence of a child. Count 3, obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-8-306 sub 2, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant Tyler James Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or pursuant to any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense, conceal or remove the firearm used to shoot Charlie Kirk, and the conduct that constitutes an offense would be a capital felony or a first-degree felony. Count 4, obstruction.
So Tony Graff is the Utah 4th District judge here who is reading down the list of these charges, 7 all in all. There's aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, 2 counts of witness tampering, commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child. Now, what we're looking at is a live feed from the courtroom, and the TV station in Provo, KTSU, is putting up a picture on one side of the booking, shot of the suspect, and then on the other side of the screen right now, you see him live. It looks like he's wearing some sort of bulletproof vest or something along those lines.
It
doesn't
does,
it?
yeah.
And
It
it doesn't
does.
even look like he has a shirt on. So he's covered by a green vest of some sort. He's sitting very stoically, doesn't look altogether too different than he did in the pictures that have emerged from him, outside of the fact that I think he's got a little bit more facial hair because several days have gone by. We were wondering if we would hear from him at all in this whole courtroom, experience here, but we're going to keep our ears on it for a couple more minutes and see what happens.
Instituted or intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, and attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony, information, a document, or an item, to wit, directing his roommate to delete incriminating text messages. Count 6.
Yeah, so the most compelling information that we've gotten today came from the district attorney or the prosecutor in this area, and we're going to air this in about an hour. Fred and I thought it was so compelling. It's like 4.5 minutes where they read the text exchanges, but it's riveting when you hear how they, so what they're mentioning now is some of the things that he tried to get the roommate, who is transitioning, by the way, to do to cover up his crime.
And attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony or information, to wit, directing his roommate to stay silent if the police question the roommate. Count 7, violent offense committed in the presence of a child, a Class A misdemeanor in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-3-203.10 sub 2 and 76.
Right, we're gonna cut out of this right now, and then we're certainly gonna roll. And if there's an interchange or an exchange between the assassin and the court, we'll certainly have that for you here this afternoon. We'll have more coverage with Brad Young after 5 o'clock. And again, I'm going to play the audio. Really is quite something from the transcript of the text exchange, which is extremely revealing, leaving no doubt about the motive of this crime.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There is a jam downtown. There was an accident westbound 44 near the 55 split that left us with a jam through there. Now an accident reported westbound 6440 before Lindbergh. Slow-moving traffic behind that, and Kings Highway out past McCausland. Slow pockets from there out through the 70 split. The worst of it this afternoon was an accident eastbound 70 between Warrenton and Wright City. They have shut down the lanes eastbound. They're diverting traffic at 47. Traffic is just jammed behind it. Westbound, the lanes are open once you get past the accident site. And southbound 270, moderate volume Olive through Doherty Ferry, again at Gravois. 55 is slowing at Bates. No delays if you're headed into Illinois. But westbound 5570 slowing at 203, that due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan of McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
We got out at a good time on that court hearing because about 20 seconds ago, they wrapped it up and he's no longer on the screen. He didn't say anything. So I just wanted people to know that, and we'll have Sue's News just around the corner.
Are you nearing retirement and you don't know if you have enough money saved to retire? That is scary. What you need, of course, is a written retirement financial plan in place. It's just a must. And I think Financial and Tax Architect's approach makes sense. And that is, let's educate people. They put on a class called Retirement Planning 101 for adults. It's one night, it's 2.5 hours, and they specialize in tax efficient retirement strategies and how and when to claim Social Security. They know all these things, and they're going to tell you about it. So you can kind of understand how things work. It just makes sense to me, because if I understand how things work, then I can make a plan. So call them today, 314-888-5101, 314-888-5101. Register for a class, go, and then feel a little bit better about retirement.
If you're thinking about replacing your windows before winter hits, which is smart, don't keep making the same mistake. Stop replacing your failing vinyl windows on your home now with more vinyl. Lakeside Renovation and Design will install Infinity from Marvin fiberglass windows. They're built to last, they're energy efficient, plus they look stunning, and they're custom built for your home. Installed by Lakeside's expert team, and they're going to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. If you're ready to upgrade your windows once and for all, you need to visit windowsbylakeside.com. Schedule your free consultation today.
Celebrate September with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com. Take advantage of these huge savings. Spell it forward or backwards, it spells the same, Zero Res.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-908-8646 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-908-8646. That's 800-908-8646. What do you have to lose? Call 800-908-8646. Again, 800-908-8646.
Hey, what's up, flies? This is David Spade. Dana Carvey. Look, I know we never actually left, but I'll just say it. We are back with another season of Fly on the Wall. Every episode, including ones with guests, will now be on video. Every Thursday, you'll hear us and see us chatting with big-name celebrities. And every Monday, you're stuck with just me and Dana. We react to news, what's trending, viral clips. Follow and listen to Fly on the Wall everywhere you get your podcasts.
This is St. Louis Conservative. No filters, no fluff. Mark Reardon is back on the mic.
You know, I mentioned before, I'm very excited about the celebration next year. I'm very excited that Democrats will not be taking the helm of the 250th birthday of our nation. But, you know, there's some questions that have emerged certainly over the last few years about how much kids in, you know, like my daughter's age are being taught civics. And Liam Julian, who's the director of public policy at an organization called the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute for American Democracy, wrote about this topic, when and why did Americans stop teaching civics? I think it's a big deal, and Liam's going to join us at the bottom of the hour after this, which is next.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, happy National Guacamole Day.
Oh, yeah.
I love me some guacamole, but that is nothing compared to my husband. He loves it. Now, he will evaluate, okay, is this avocado not ripe enough? Because I'm not sure I can eat it. I mean, serious stuff.
I'm with him. And, you know, here's the difficulty. I've been down with my dear friends, John and Cindy Lynch, to Todos Santos, Mexico, and I've had the best guacamole down that I've ever had in my life.
Oh.
I don't like any of the, you know, the prepackaged guacamole.
Of
I
course
love
not.
guacamole, but I hate the prepackaged
It's because
stuff.
it's terrible.
Thank you.
Yes, you just have to make your own, Fred.
Oh, I agree. Make your own.
It's also National Play-Doh Day. By the way, my mother used to make our own Play-Doh. Did that happen? Is that weird? Did you guys have that?
No. Make your own
Yeah,
Play-Doh?
she made it. I guess we were too poor to have the stuff from the can. So she made it and then gave it to us, and sometimes it'd still be hot. And you'd smelled, and you watched her make it, you think, should I taste that? Of course you did. You shouldn't.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
shouldn't. It's not that
I
good.
always would find some really old and hard behind the bed or something like that.
I don't remember ever having Play-Doh for any of my kids. The older kids,
Really?
Yeah, maybe there were, but no, I don't remember Play-Doh being. Now they have this, you know, what's this stuff? The squishy stuff that they play with.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Gets everywhere. Alexa has that stuff. Can't remember the name of it. But yeah, I haven't had a Play-Doh reference on the show for quite some time.
Oh,
So
there,
congratulations.
I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And it's also, now I love this, Cinnamon Raisin Bread Day. Now, I could take or leave the raisins, but I have the recipe for Grandma Thomas cinnamon swirl bread. It's quite tasty.
Can I have that?
Yeah, I'll
Would you
pass
share
it
that
along.
with me? I'd love to try that.
All right.
And I could go either way with the raisins. I like raisins.
Yeah,
a
for
little bit.
some reason in the bread, it's fine. Fred?
I'm anti-raisin.
Oh, my goodness. Are you
but
really?
very pro-cinnamon.
Okay, there you go.
All right.
Fair
all right.
enough.
You don't even like it in the bread. You'd pick it out.
No.
I think if I had my choice, I'd say no raisins, even though
Yeah.
I'm not anti-raisin, like in an oatmeal cookie or something.
Yeah. In an oatmeal cookie, I prefer a chocolate chip. Just because I think they're a disappointment when you get a raisin instead of a chocolate chip, really in any circumstance.
Man, we have some strong opinions
Yes,
about
we do.
raisins on the show. There needs
But
to
I
be
like it in the bread.
congressional hearing
Yeah.
or something.
I dressed up as a raisin once.
I'm sorry,
in
what's
a
happening?
Campaign parade in Afton Days. I was representing a candidate, and I walked around saying "raisin votes" for Kenny Meyer. And I was
Did you really?
dressed as a raisin. Yeah.
Are
Yeah,
there
are there any
photos
pictures?
of
Yeah,
this?
exactly.
No,
Thank you.
it was decades ago.
Oh, well,
That's so disappointing.
That really is, because that's wait, Fred, how'd they do the top part? Was it your head like out of a raisin costume?
It's all a mystery.
Okay.
I don't remember.
One wonders.
It was hot.
On this day in history, I
Did you
bet
say
it was hot.
It was hot.
Yeah, that's
Did
what
you have
remember.
on purple tights?
No.
Okay. On this day in history, 41 years ago, in 1984, this show premiered. There's some music that goes here.
Some loud music that goes here too. Sorry about that. Oh, it was 84 when Miami Vice started.
1984.
Yeah.
And of course, it starred Don Johnson and Philip Michael Thomas, Crockett and Tubbs. It became so popular, its famously 80s sounding theme song, which we're hearing now, went to #1 on the charts. And of course, it's Jan Hammer. He did the whole thing. And so if you watch the video, it's just him watching Miami Vice behind like some sort of machine that makes noise. Yeah. It's not an exciter.
There's this whole period, I would say, and really I can nail it from 1984 probably till 1990 or so, where I just did not pay a lot of attention to, episodic television, because it was in the aftermath. I graduated. I was in college for some of that, graduated. So late night television, I was all over it, like Letterman,
Right.
and that. There probably were some shows that I recorded, but TV was not my priority back in that era. So I never really watched a lot of Miami Vice. Everyone else did, right?
Well, I didn't really either, but I remember the style, right? The pushed up suit jacket things. Did you have a Miami Vice, Fred?
I
phase?
watched it a lot, but I don't think I
Okay.
ever dressed.
That's
that
fair. Well, it was so big time, they had an entire soundtrack album, and that's where Glenn Frey's Smuggler's Blues was.
Sure.
So they did the whole thing. Also, 32 years ago today, in 1993, was when Frasier premiered on NBC. It ran for how many seasons? Guess on that one, Fred.
12.
That's pretty good. No,
14.
11.
See, and I should know
11
that.
seasons of Frasier.
So you might remember 2 years ago, and I've done this with a variety of shows, but I kind of pick shows to fall asleep to late at night. And Frasier, I got through probably 6 or 7 seasons of Frasier before I just sort of, it wore on me, and then I stopped. And I never watched the reboot. They have a reboot of that as well.
Yeah. I haven't seen that either.
But what I will say about the original Frasier is it holds up as being sharply written. Very, you had the best writers in television, because we didn't have streaming at the time, working on shows like that, and it was exceptionally well written and acted.
Yeah, that's true. That kind of stuff always survives. Robert Redford passed away in his home this morning. He was 89, and he was born in Santa Monica, California in 1936. And he and his first wife had 4 kids, and he has an amazing career. Fred, what'd you find? You have like a montage?
Yeah, a montage of some of his famous moments.
I'll jump first. Nope. Then you jump first. No, I said. What's the matter with you? I can't swim.
I'm a very good loser.
Better than I am. Man, was that beautiful. I thought for sure he was on us. No, you had him all the way. All the way. Luther. Good God. We're millionaires.
Should have had the
I
natural.
couldn't tell
thing
what
ready to
that
go.
was.
Yeah, I was trying to think what that
Yeah.
was. Could have been the Sting. They said
Maybe.
we're millionaires.
Everything from Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969 with Paul Newman, and apparently they were great buddies.
Paul Newman would have been 100 years old this year. He was born. I looked this
Wow.
up just because I wanted to know how long ago it was that we lost him. He was born in January of 1925. He died in September of 2008. So it's been a little bit.
I had a crush on Robert Redford. I mean, he was so handsome, At 3 Days of the Condor is such an underrated, but what a good movie, 1975. But I really loved him in Electric Horseman.
Oh,
I'm sorry about that
did not
crowd.
like him quite as much
In
as you did, I guess.
1979. I bought the book. I loved it so much. Okay. But he had an incredible career, and Robert Redford was 89.
And my favorite one,
which do tell,
naturally, was
The Natural.
Oh, The Natural's so good. So good. And The Sting, if you haven't watched that in a while, go back and watch it. It is so good.
When I first heard about this morning and they referenced The Sting, that's a movie, and I've gone through these periods too, where I've gone back to the 70s and early 80s, and I'd like to watch that one again.
Yes, it's so good. I've watched it in the last 5 years.
Do you know,
it's really
I'm gonna do a
good.
little search here to help the, where is The Sting streaming, right?
Oh, yeah, and I can't remember, of course, even though I did
I'm gonna
just
see if I
watch
can
it.
tell you here.
Okay.
Hopefully, it says it's available on Amazon Prime, but I think you have to rent it.
That's where I saw it.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
Prime.
no, it says the Netflix. Watch The Sting. So that's out there somewhere.
Okay. Enjoy it. It's a great soundtrack, too.
Oh, wait a second. Here you go. This is what I love about the AI. Okay. Is The Sting available on Netflix? Yes. A movie titled The Sting is available, but it's important to note that it's a horror film from 2024, not the classic 73 Paul Newman and Robert Redford.
Gosh.
So, yeah, that one I think you have to rent on a platform, but you can still find it out there.
That's funny.
If you want the horror Sting, you can get that now.
No, thank you. Elton John underwent a double knee replacement last year. Okay. And had the kneecaps made into jewelry. Okay. Like you do, Fred.
What?
Well, the right one became a necklace, and the left one he turned into a brooch. His jewelry designer said, quote, "We baked them." Well, we had to bake them to dry them out, and they get raw like a pumice stone and very porous, so we had to paint them with acetate and then just polish them up like you do, Fred.
Oh,
you
yeah.
understand.
Yeah, that's right.
Elton's right kneecap was turned into a gold-plated necklace, and it looks like, quote, "an old artifact from Egypt." It has an engraved phrase in Latin on it, on the back, that translates to, quote, "I will no longer bow to any man." Okay. I don't know why we have to do that. And finally, in Sue's News, now I have a today's random fact that is specifically for Mark Reardon, who is having an issue with these.
Okay.
Here is today's random fact.
Is it about armadillo?
Female armadillos almost always give birth to identical quadruplets. So every time they give birth, 4 more armadillos who are identical are born.
Well, they're all trying to get grubs and worms and food out of my yard because it's so dry out in the woods right now.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. CNBC reports the upcoming framework agreement for TikTok will include new investors and existing ones in ByteDance. The deal is expected to close over the next 30 to 45 days. Drug maker Eli Lilly says they'll spend $5 billion to build a manufacturing facility in Virginia to help boost production for targeted cancer treatments. Eli Lilly said the facility will help increase domestic manufacturing of those targeted drugs. Versant is striking a multi-year media rights deal with League One Volleyball. USA Network will exclusively air the league's match of the week in primetime every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. On Wall Street, stocks are lower today, with the Dow falling 125 points, the S&P 500 off the pace by 8, and the Nasdaq dropped nearly 15. Crude oil futures for October are up roughly 2% under 65 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
Pure opportunity. It's what Michigan is all about. The opportunity to do more. The opportunity to connect with the best talent. The opportunity for people of all backgrounds to grow and expand their business. The opportunity to live and work in a state where paychecks go further. The opportunity is now and is right here in Michigan. Visit MichiganBusiness.org to discover all the ways the Michigan Economic Development Corporation can help your business thrive.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hey, this is another one of those times where I'm talking to Fred and Sue here in the studio, not realizing that it's my turn to talk. And I apologize for that. That's operator error. But let's talk about the Gelman team, Mark and Neil Gelman. Real estate is still a little tricky. It's still a time where you could put your home on the market and probably sell it right away. But how much you're going to get for that home? You're going to get top dollar without doing anything to it, just assuming that the market is tight, and you're going to get above asking price offers. That's not necessarily the case. Mark was on a couple of weeks ago, really put this into great perspective. Look, the market is very active and there is a lot of demand, but if you're a seller, you got to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And maybe you're someone out there who is just thinking about putting your house on the market and you're wondering what the price might be. I can give you a great tool that you can use for free on the Gelman team's website right now. If you go to thegelmanteam.com, right there at the top, it says, how much is your home really worth? Find out for free. You click on that, a pop-up comes up if you allow it, and then you fill in your address, and it kicks you back a very accurate price that you would probably, in that very near neighborhood, ask for if you're going to put your house on the market. And the Gelmans, of course, can guide you through that process and make sure that you're getting top dollar if you listen to their advice. They like to say they're a marketing company that specializes in real estate, and that's absolutely accurate. You can sell your home for more using their process, and they can introduce you to success very easily if you call 314-336-1991. The website, the Gelman team with exprealty.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Built in the heartland for the heartland. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis conservative.
You know, Stu, I think I told you I went to Columbia on Saturday and was generously offered a football ticket from our friend Steve Butts, state representative, and we had a lot of time in the car together to talk and share stories. And one of the things we were talking about was the education issue. And I mentioned, we were talking a little entertainment too, and I said, I don't even know how we got on this topic of World War II and the Greatest Generation, but I told him, I've watched Band of Brothers 3 times. I rewatched it last year, and I've always expressed this concern, which I think is properly placed, that younger people don't have an appreciation for the freedoms that we have, and many of them don't even really understand how our government works, etc. We all took civics classes, social studies, whatever, in school, and I don't even have a sense, and I'm trying to monitor this with my own daughter who's 10 years old, of how much she's learning. I kind of poke around and say, hey, what'd you learn in school today?
Right.
When it comes to those particular issues. Actually, sometimes she surprised me with how much she knows about how the government works, and I try to help her along with my own indoctrination, of course. But it is a concern, and with the 250th birthday of the country, I'm even more concerned. I'm very happy that we'll have the this administration guiding us through that celebration next year. But Liam Julian, who's the director of public policy at an organization called the Sandra Day O'Connor Institute, named, of course, for the legendary Supreme Court Justice for American democracy, and they put out a report about why we are stopping teaching civics. Now, my own son is a social studies teacher in the city of Chicago, and I don't like to engage with this topic with him because I worry that we're going to cross over into politics. But we invited Liam to join us this afternoon to talk about some of his concerns. Liam Julian, how are you? Welcome to 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis.
Hey, I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
One of the things I think you find, which is not surprising when you look at this topic of teaching civics in the classroom, is you have a lot of people that just avoid teaching it on purpose because they are trying to limit discussions about politics and social issues in classes. My impression is it's like the obvious that they want to talk about those things, but they want to do it from an indoctrination standpoint. So what do we find here about how much actual civics is being taught in classrooms across the country?
Well, it's a good question. Civics has generally been on the decline since the 1960s, and there are a lot of different reasons for that. The first one really is that the 1960s was the first time that civics became quite controversial. Before that time, civics had just sort of been a core part of American education. But in the 1960s, it becomes controversial, and then we see schools and start to back away from it. So we've kind of been seeing that decline for several decades.
So you work at this organization, which is named for, Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, as I mentioned. And you said in a piece that I read, she wrote once that civic education must be understood at its root as education for informed participation in government and society. And she said the goal is for students to have the knowledge to understand the political history of our nation, appreciate different perspectives, craft their own informed opinions, gain the skills to persuasively advocate their views in the public sphere. That sounds a lot like maybe something that a guy that was assassinated a week ago might have been interested in when it comes to debate and sharing information. Going back to my previous comment, though, my concern would be even if civics is being taught in many of these public schools, in particular, Liam, the way that they're being taught, the way that government is being, explained would concern me as a conservative and someone who sees the indoctrination. So there's a couple of different tiers of questions here. One, I would kind of agree we got to get back to some basic level of civic education because I think we've lost that. But two, can we trust this education system to do that effectively?
Well, that's a good question. And right now what we're hearing from teachers is that they're looking for that guidance because to your point, they're hearing different things from the left, different things from the right, and they don't want to be teaching something that is going to, get them in trouble at work. I mean, just like you or me, I mean, we want to do what we're supposed to do at the job. But what we're finding is because right now, there's not a lot of agreement about what civics education should be. Teachers themselves are just sort of kind of not doing it. I mean, in class, they might be teaching the basics, but those skills that you brought up, Mark, that are so important, civil discourse, learning how to disagree with people, learning to sort of understand other people's ideas, learning what compromise looks like and how the history of our country is sort of built around that. That's not happening because teachers are, quite frankly, frightened. They're a little bit scared and they don't have the guidance or training that they need to get there. So that's a big concern.
So how do you, and this is basically what, was appealing to me to get you on as a guest because you wrote about this, but how do you reverse course on that? Maybe I would even say, how do you, is it possible to reverse course on this at this point?
Yeah, well, I mean, what we've got to do, number one, is states at the state level have got to start getting together to write clear civics standards. We got to figure out what is it that students are not getting in class today. I mean, you can look at our society right now, and obviously, you brought up the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and you can see these things. I mean, we're in a society right now where people don't seem to have the skills to listen to points of view that are not their own. And we've got to get back to teaching students how to do that. So at the state level, it means crafting clear civic standards. This is the content that students need to learn about our country in civics classes. And these are the skills that students need to have and be able to demonstrate. And then at the district and school level, that means clear guidance for teachers. Okay? Basically saying, these are the standards, and this is how you're going to teach them. This is how you're going to facilitate those controversial, those discussions about controversial topics. This is how you are going to not, as you point out very astutely, not indoctrinate, but rather encourage your students to investigate different points of view and come to their own conclusions based on the evidence. And how you're going to teach them to talk to other students who disagree with them. I mean, this is so key. And then when you have a teacher who's doing this in a responsible way, it really does mean supporting that teacher and saying, this is what we expect now because we've got to prepare this next generation. And as you said, Justice O'Connor understood that. This is not something that's just passed along through the gene pool. Every generation needs to relearn what it means to be an American citizen.
And this is such an opportunity, don't you think, heading into the 250th, anniversary? I remember the bicentennial very well. I was my daughter's age. So my daughter's basically going to be the same age that I was during the 250th celebration. But, you know, it was kind of staggering when you wrote about this that I found on Real Clear Politics. There was, you know, a number in here that the survey that was done by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce found more than 30% of people that were answering questions did not know that there are 3 branches of government, much less what those branches are and what they do. So that's a fair number of people. Now, some of us, you might be a little younger than I, some of us learned this from Schoolhouse Rock in the 1970s when we were watching our cartoons on Saturday morning. And that's not really an exaggeration. You know, that stuff was repeating itself, how a bill becomes a law, and you sort of were guided. And it was a very catchy way to learn about some things in civics. I would have a very low level of trust in our education system to appropriately teach this particular topic. And that would be my main concern. But I also feel it's important to get back to some of those basics.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, you know, you make a good point. And the 250th anniversary, I think, does provide us an opportunity to go back to those founding documents. And this gets to your point about how we can have more trust, you know, in the education system and in our leaders to help us understand civics. By going back to those founding documents, you achieve a number of things. Number one, you just lower the temperature. You know, you take the civics education away from whatever debate is in the news at the moment, and you ground it in those founding documents and in American history. And that does a number of things. It lowers the temperature, as I said, but it also shows students that we have been having these discussions and debates since this country's inception, that it's core to who we are as Americans to disagree with each other over ideas and then to act with a unity of purpose. And so that is a really great way to get to your concern about the indoctrination, is getting back to those primary sources and really sort of grounding instruction there. I think that's a good place to start. And the 250th, I mean, what a great time to do that.
Absolutely. Perfect opportunity. Liam, Julian, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts this afternoon on this topic. Very important.
Thanks so much.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident reported on the Illinois side, westbound 5570 at 203. Now, that is already a construction zone, so a real jam going on there. And 44 westbound is slowing in front of the Arch grounds. That was due to an earlier accident. Accident reported westbound 6440. This is near Big Bend. So we've got a jam that goes back past Kings Highway and then a slow go east of 170 at 270. Moderate volume through Chesterfield Valley and out in pockets through the 70 split. We had a very serious incident. It was an accident eastbound 70 between Warrenton and Wright City, and there's still a massive jam on eastbound 70 just trying to get to Warrenton. 70 westbound out of downtown, slowing in the usual spots, approaching Jennings Station Road past the airport, and then it opens up a bit. If you are headed into Illinois, there's a little bit of volume headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. And southbound 55, that's a slow go at Bates. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
97.1 FM Talk welcomes Trans-Siberian Orchestra and their monumental tour, The Ghost of Christmas Eve, at the Enterprise Center on December 23rd. A portion of the proceeds benefits Sightman Kids at St. Louis Children's Hospital. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than 4 for years? Now it's why pay more than 2, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than 2?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is, who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardy contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. Now hiring qualified carpenters.
When my wife and I got married after both graduating law school, we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. Ultima had to give me her gas card just to drive home. We never could have imagined that one day we would have the largest injury firm in the world and $25 billion in money collected and counting. As good Catholics, we had 4 children fast. They all work in the firm today. Our family protecting yours. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. But our greatest gift was years away, grandchildren. Today we have 6 and counting. It's the greatest joy that we have ever experienced. I think about them all day long. Our family promises to protect your family should you need us. Call us. It's easy. Visit forthepeople.com and make sure you hug your grandchildren. God's final gift to us. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brad Young, our 97.1 FM Talk legal analyst. Also, he fills in more than just occasionally here on this show and also some others. He's going to join us after 5 o'clock. So there have been some things that have been attributed to Charlie Kirk in the aftermath of his assassination, which have just been patently false. And one of the things that's been shared quite a bit, and there's certainly nuance to it, and I guess I would put this in the category of President Trump and the very fine people quote, where he did not say that white supremacists were very fine people. He was trying to point out, and this is so well documented, people still lie about it, that he was talking about people who were there that day just to protest for their Southern heritage, whether it be wrong or right when it comes to the Confederate flag, but they weren't all neo-Nazis that were there, and that got mangled and manipulated. And to this day, he's misquoted, and the legacy media never corrects it. So there's a quote from Charlie Kirk. I've heard the audio. I don't have it right now, but the allegation is that he said, Black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot. So that sounds like it's very inappropriate, right? You wouldn't want to say something like that. So there's a woman by the name of Karen Attiah. I don't know her, and I read the Washington Post. She's a columnist. I think maybe even was an editor at the Washington Post. And she tweeted about this, and she attributed that quote to Charlie Kirk. Now, he never said that. What he did was he was naming very specific people. He was talking about Joy Reid, who's an idiot, Michelle Obama, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, who have spoken about how affirmative action benefited them. And then he slammed them for not having the capacity to do it on their merit. So that's the quote that's out there, right? So Karen Attiah actually gets fired from the Washington Post, and she goes on Substack, and, starts doing her thing on there. And she, basically says that she has sadness and fear for America among the growing trend of political violence and gun violence in the United States. She slams the Washington Post and says that she was writing that part of what keeps America so violent is the insistence that people perform care, empty goodness, and absolution for white men who espouse hatred and violence. So she deleted that post, and it was from a user who accused her of supporting violence and fascism. So she gets fired. She blames, the Post for kind of taking this out of context. But now we have the actual termination letter, because I don't know how people get this, Sue, very quickly, right?
Yeah. I mean, Well,
yeah, they have. I mean, I don't know if she let it, out there or somebody else. But here's what the Post said to Karen Atia. It was written yesterday. I'm writing to inform you that the Post is terminating your employment effective immediately for gross misconduct. Your public comments on social media regarding the death of Charlie Kirk violate the Post's social media policies, harm the integrity of our organization, potentially endanger the physical safety of our staff. Among the other requirements, the company-wide social media policy mandates that all employees' social media postings be respectful and prohibit postings that disparage people based on their race, gender, or other protected characteristics. The policy also reminds employees that everything they post is a reflection of the company and should not affect the integrity of the Post's journalism. Now, this is something that you and I can relate to, I think, right?
Sure.
One of us in this room has been specifically cited for questionable posts on Twitter over the course of his career and called into the principal's office. And Sue, I think you should correct that behavior. I've tried to get you to do that over the years, right?
Yes.
No, but I mean, I'm very keenly aware, and I, certainly more than I used to do in the past, I think about when I'm posting, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Well, it's kind of good, but I still get
it's
myself
good.
into trouble. What they said here is, and she was on Blue Sky, I guess. I don't really even know Blue Sky,
I
but
don't
that's
know
where all
what
the
that
lefties
is.
have gone,
Oh,
after they
okay.
got off Twitter. Your postings on Blue Sky, which clearly identifies you as a Post columnist about white men in response to the killing of Charlie Kirk, do not comply with our policy. For example, this is a very detailed letter from HR. You posted, refusing to tear my clothes and smear ashes on my face in performative mourning for a white man that espoused violence is not the same as violence. Part of what keeps America so violent is the insistence that people perform care, empty goodness, and absolution for white men who espouse hatred and violence. So this is fascinating to me. And obviously, I think that the legacy media outlets are doing things a little differently than they have been in the past because they're under threat of lawsuit, etc. But they are firing her for being racist. Think about that. They did it because she was racist, right? She's an African-American woman who was espousing racist thoughts about white men. And that's why they fired her. That's what they're citing here. They said, in addition, just last year, opinions leadership asked everyone in the opinions department to review the newsroom's social media guidelines, attach those guidelines to an email to the department for review, reiterated that email the bedrock principle that our use of social media must never harm the journalistic integrity or reputation of the Post. And they went on to say, the poor judgment exhibited by your public comments regarding Charlie Kirk arise against the backdrop of documented performance concerns which have been raised with you. Given these concerns, and in light of your recent unacceptable Blue Sky posts, we cannot tolerate the risk to your performance, we cannot tolerate the risk your performance poses to the Post. And she was let go. So that's fascinating. They say, please remove any reference to your affiliation with the Washington Post and any public-facing profiles immediately. You will receive a separate letter from the Post Benefits Department concerning your eligibility for benefits, blah, blah, blah. In the event that you have left any personal items, we will make arrangements to return them to you. But you tell me where you're familiar with a case in the legacy media when an African-American has been let go, a liberal, left-wing African-American let go because of, I guess, what some people would refer to as reverse racism, right? I that's fascinating to me.
Wow.
And she'll probably get a lot of support on Substack. But if you read through the minutia there, it wasn't the first time that she was called into the principal's office. I can say with great confidence that at some point, Sue, over the course of the remaining years of my career, I'll probably hit the door that way because I'll do something or I'll say something and it won't be accepted. And then that'll be it. I'm not planning on doing that. And
Please
I hope
don't.
it doesn't happen. But you know what I mean? Look, the line is very fine here. And there are things that I do try to think before I press on Twitter or before I retweet. But I will say things on a regular basis that I think are rather innocuous that get responses that are just bizarre. And, all you have to do is type one thing the wrong way, or even if it's interpreted the wrong way, and
Well,
you're in
that's
big
just
trouble.
it. If it's interpreted the wrong way.
Well, that's the thing with that quote from Charlie Kirk, because people have been spreading that one, nonstop. And I think it's pretty important to have the details of the specifics that he was talking about specific African-American women. You leave that out, you change the quote.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
MoDOT is reporting an accident eastbound 70 at the ramp to 270. and they have lane closures through there. Also, an accident westbound 255 at 55. Watch for those in the two right lanes. So we've got some issues out there. And if you are on northbound 255 on the Illinois side, it's pretty slow at Dupo. There is an accident reported there. But northbound 270 on the Missouri side is just a little slow at Ladue Road. And it's southbound that has volume, and that's mainly from Olive down through Gravois. The westbound 6440 jam is back past Kings Highway. There was an incident near Big Bend that caused a delay there. And 70 westbound, there was an accident going out of downtown past Shreve. We've also got volume out west, mostly moderate on 6440 and also on 70. Now, there is a serious accident eastbound 70. It was between Warrenton and Wright City. They have shut down the eastbound lanes and traffic is being diverted at Warrenton. This report is brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in St. Louis. It's full of the latest, most custom designs. It's in Chesterfield Valley, and you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. Sue Thomas, Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I would like to cordially, or uncordially, it doesn't really matter, but I'd like to invite you to the Retirement Advisor Group final seminar of 2025. We do 5 a year. We're up to the last one here, October 2nd. That is 2 weeks from Thursday night. We're going to get together at the St. Louis Plaza Frontenac Hilton, and you're going to be there. And it's a free event. We just need to know that you're coming. In order to let us know that you're coming, all you have to do is go to retirementkey.com. And that website has got a lot more information outside of just clicking on register for this event on October 2nd. But we would love to see you. And Thomas and his nephew, Bob Kershaw, Bob's wife, Tammy, will be there. Mark and Annie and I will all be there for a little meet and greet. And then Thomas takes over after we introduce them, gives you a lot of information, some alternative philosophies and tactics to make sure that you can keep as much of your money as possible in retirement. And by the way, you can always go in one-on-one to the office if that's more comfortable for you. But these are group events. We just need to know that we're going to save a seat for you. 314-993-9494, retirementkey.com. We'll see you on October 2nd.
You know, September makes me think of football, and they are celebrating at Zero Res. Right now, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning through the end of the month of September. That's great. Of course, you're going to have people over to watch the big game. You want to have the house clean. Call the cleaning heroes at Zero Res to clean up all of those fumble moments you might have in your house. They can clean up the dust, the dander, the bacteria in your carpet from a whole summer full of fun. And then they'll get the yuck out of your air ducts as well. So let them work on your carpet, your tiles, your upholstery, your hardwood. Every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. It is time to give them a call today, 314-474-2020. Tell them you want the 97.1 special. That's 314-474-2020. Schedule your appointment online at ZeroResSTL.com.
This is Todd Krenz with Krenz Financial Group. For over 6 decades, we've helped St. Louis families and businesses plan with purpose and live with confidence. We work closely with professionals in healthcare, from doctors and nurses to medical sales and biotech and pharma. Our team helps you navigate complex financial decisions like retirement plans, disability insurance, consolidating old 401ks, and understanding stock options or RSUs. We make the process clear so you can focus on what you do best. Your goals, our mission. Start today at kfgadvisors.com.
Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Servicing. Member FINRA/SIPC. Prince Financial Group is not a broker-dealer.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meyer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
Brad Young, just around the corner. Plus, we'll have an audio cut of the day.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A brief court appearance. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News.
Mr. Robinson, at this time, you will remain in custody without bail.
Utah District Judge Tony Graff as Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old accused of shooting Charlie Kirk to death at Utah Valley University in Orem last week, appeared in court via video link. Robinson is charged with aggravated murder and other offenses, including aggravated use of a firearm. Earlier today, Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray said Robinson left his DNA on the trigger of the rifle used to kill Charlie Kirk and that he is seeking the death penalty. Robinson's due back in court later this month. A judge in New York City has thrown out terror charges against the man accused in the shooting death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
Mangione's lawyers wanted the judge to throw out second-degree murder charges against their client as well, arguing that the New York case and a parallel federal death penalty case amounted to double jeopardy. The judge rejected that argument, saying that it would be premature to do that. Mangione appeared in court wearing a tan prison jumpsuit and did not speak to reporters. He has pleaded not guilty to killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in December, accused of shooting him from behind as he arrived at the New York Hilton in Midtown Manhattan.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. President Trump in the UK for a state visit hosted by King Charles and Queen Camilla, meeting with the Prime Minister later this week.
President Trump is going to talk little, if any, policy with the King and Queen. That is all going to be left for his meeting on Thursday with the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. While the president is here in Europe, we also expect some talk about Ukraine. Prime Minister Starmer was on the most recent conference call with President Trump and Zelensky, where the president implored European leaders to stop buying oil from Russia, which gives Putin money to fund the war effort.
Fox's Peter Ducey in London. Wall Street stocks drifted a touch below record highs. The Dow lost 125, the Nasdaq minus 14, the S&P off 8 points. America is listening to Fox News.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
eBay has reinvented vehicle buying. From click to curb, everything's covered. Ever try to buy a car online and end up in a parking lot with a stranger and some blind trust? That era is over. Now with Secure Purchase, eBay isn't just where you find your car. It's where you buy it, start to finish. Title, financing, registration, delivery, it's all built in. This is the modern way to buy your next ride on eBay. eBay. Things people love. Secure Purchase is powered by Caramel Dealer Services, LLC, an eBay subsidiary.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
The September summer bake still in play. Partly sunny, hot, moderate humidity going through our Tuesday afternoon. Just a tiny chance of a pop-up thunderstorm. Most will not see anything at all. 95 for the high. Tonight, mostly clear. 69 Wednesday and Thursday. Partly sunny, hot, moderate humidity. A spot storm possible each day, and each day, 95. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, there was some Apple news that came out last week, a new iPhone, and there's some other tech news. We'd love to touch base with Ian Sherr, CBS News tech expert. Ian will join us at the bottom of the hour. It'll also be a good way to get away from all the doom and gloom and all the stuff surrounding Charlie Kirk, which is very depressing. This is depressing as well. Let me welcome Brad Young into the fold this afternoon, 97.1 FM Talk chief legal analyst, partner with Harris, Dowell, Fisher, and Young, and also someone who fills in quite often here on 97.1 FM Talk. Brad, how are you?
I'm doing well. Also, one correction. As of today, the name of my law firm has changed. We're now Harris, Young, and Kaiser.
Is that is that true?
That's official as
wow.
of today. Yeah,
Okay.
Harris, Young, and Kaiser.
I still hear your name in association with that, so that's a good thing, right? They didn't kick you out.
Oh yeah, that's a good thing. No. We just a couple of my partners have retired, and so we've added a whole new practice group. So we've changed the name to Harris, Young, and Kaiser.
Awesome. Well, that's good to know. We'll make sure we correct that on the sheet moving forward. Before we get to some of the stuff from Utah, and I know you do what you want to, but I'm not mentioning the guy's name, right? And he was in court today. I want to get your response to that. And I also just want to let the listeners know that there was a fascinating exchange. Well, not even exchange, but reading by the prosecutor of the text exchange between the assassin and his partner, who was a biological male transitioning to female. And I'm going to air that after you and I talk here this afternoon, Brett. But let me first go to New York and Luigi Mangione, because this is stunning. This was the sound today outside of this courtroom. hundreds of supporters of this assassin because they dropped a domestic terrorism charge against him, and that's what they were celebrating. Help me out with this story.
Yeah, this came before the judge, and I mostly agree with what the judge did because under New York law, there's 3 criteria to meet to be charged with first-degree murder in furtherance of an act of terrorism. Number 1, you have to show that the act was done to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. 2, influence government policy by intimidation or coercion. 3, affect government conduct by murder, assassination, or kidnapping. Judge didn't find any of those key elements. I think that since the murder, okay, I don't believe this was necessarily in the motive of Mangione, but since the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, I think that his act has been used to try to influence government policy with regard to our healthcare system. But that can't be part of the charge against Luigi Mangione, so it was dropped. And those people who are cheering, those are people who are advocating for murder. Those are people who are essentially those who probably wanted Charlie Kirk to be executed as well.
Right.
To me, that's just reprehensible.
Yeah, so you can have the court ruling be accurate, but I mean, what they were cheering on is just the murder itself. And I just can't believe it. And you have to wonder if that's going to happen, with this guy in Utah as well. By the way, before we get to his court hearing and the charges and all that, there was another angle of this story. And I don't know if you saw this, Brad, but I want to make sure that people are aware of this because I was covering all of this, live on the radio when it was unfolding a week ago tomorrow. And at first, and even Cash Patel made a mistake here because they took a guy into custody. It was an older guy who looked a little like Larry David, maybe from Curb Your Enthusiasm. And he starts shouting, "I shot him, now shoot me," moments after Kirk was shot. So this guy's name is George Zinn, and he's been arrested and charged with obstruction of justice after claiming to be the shooter. But they look at his phone. He tells police that he's not the shooter, even though he now I guess he was claiming to draw attention from the real shooter, but he goes to the hospital for an unknown medical issue. And he says he was glad that he shot the individual so the real suspect could get away. But then they look at his phone and did you see this part? He's charged with all this child porn, which is just, so this guy tries to create a diversion, probably just spur of the moment. And he then gets charged with child porn charges because they look at his phone and he's got all kinds of images with kids as young as 5 years old. So how about that for a weird twist on this angle, on this story?
Yeah, that is a weird twist. And I don't know how much of a bigger assessment or analysis you can make out of it, but it does show that this guy's a nut.
Yeah.
And he's more than a nut. He's a perv, and he's going to go to jail for what's on his phone.
Apparently, he's been one of those guys that has, there was a guy that I can't remember his name when I was in Columbia, when I was early days of covering news in Columbia. There was a guy who went to every Columbia City Council meeting. His name was Paul something or other. And everybody knew who he was because he was the gadfly. He was always there challenging government. And, we have a couple of those things that happen around here as well. But he admitted that apparently in the police interview, he admitted that he gets sexual gratification from viewing and sharing child sexual abuse images with his preferred victim ages 5 to 12 years old. So let's hope this guy stays in prison for a long time, even though he didn't necessarily have anything to do with the shooting. But that's kind of a weird, sub-story to everything that's happening with Charlie. Meantime, today in Utah, this is what happened.
The murder of Charlie Kirk is an American tragedy. Charlie Kirk was murdered while engaging in one of our most sacred and cherished American rights, the bedrock of our democratic republic, the free exchange of ideas in a search for truth, understanding, and a more perfect union.
So that is Jeff Gray, who's the prosecutor out there. There was a court appearance that we aired, some of it live, about an hour ago. He was not there in person. Apparently this is pretty standard, but I think you had 3 different locations. You had a prosecutor, you had a judge in another room, and you had the video of the assassin. And Brad, I don't know if you saw the images from that. It looked like he was just with nothing on his body except for maybe a bulletproof vest on top.
That's it. Yeah. It's been widely reported, Mark, that I'll call him Mr. Robinson, insert joke here as far as his neighborhood goes. But with regard to him, there's been widely reported that he is under, they're not calling it suicide watch, but they're intimating that it's under suicide watch.
Right, which he admitted there were details that came out today, fascinating details, because there was an effort. This is something else that was cleared up. I mentioned this at the beginning of the show. You might remember when all this reporting was starting last week, and we're starting to get information. This is typical in breaking news stories. It was reported that his dad was a deputy sheriff or a former sheriff. There was a family friend who got involved in this and helped bring him together to the authorities. So part of that was true. It wasn't his dad. But they talked about not only the father, but the mother in how they discovered this. They start seeing the image and they say, gosh, that sure looks like our son. Dad gets on the phone and starts asking some questions. Dad, at one point, this was interesting, insists to his son, say, you show me a picture of that 30-06 that your grandpa gave you because I want to know where it is. And he refused to show the picture. So they very quickly, knew that he was involved with this, and they somehow got him to come over to their home. They had the family friend there as well, and they gave him up to the authorities. So they did the right thing. So the mom and the dad very aggressively trying to do the right thing in this particular case.
Well, and what's interesting, I think even more interesting here is that the dad came out with a statement today stating that if he's given I think there's over a $1 million reward that was offered for information that leads to the arrest of the assailant. And he said he's going to donate that money to the Charlie Kirk family.
Yes,
I saw that.
And I did
That's
hear
good.
some of that. So the guy says he did it with the partner, the roommate. He says, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate cannot be negotiated out. I'm going to play in about 10 minutes that exchange with Jeff Gray when he reads from those text messages, because that's about as revealing as you can get right now. And by the way, it should, I don't know that it will, Brad, but it should put to rest this nonsense narrative from the left out there that somehow this guy was to the right of MAGA. And that's why he did it, that Charlie Kirk wasn't conservative enough. I mean, it's ridiculous. And you even had Dickerson on CBS News. I played this a couple of times earlier because John Dickerson goes on the CBS News, extra feed. It wasn't the regular broadcast, and says this.
5 days after Charlie Kirk's murder, the shooter's motive remains elusive.
No, it does not remain elusive. It did not remain elusive yesterday when he did that broadcast. It did not remain elusive the day after the shooting, and has not remained elusive. It's just confirmation on the elusivity, if that's even a name. And we got confirmation today, and you're going to hear this very specifically in the text messages that I'll share that audio in just a few minutes. Did you hear anything else that caught your attention throughout the process of the court appearance or the news conference earlier, Brad?
Well, the only thing that caught my eye on this, and I want to go through this for just a minute, and that is he was charged with aggravated murder. Now, what does that mean? Under Utah law, you have to be charged with aggravated murder in order to get the death penalty. And procedurally, what happens is, this is all done with the same jury, mind you. But once the jury convicts him, and they will, the evidence is overwhelming. They place his DNA at the scene of the crime. They have his admissions to his family members, to his trans roommate, and to others on the video game chat board that he was on.
Right.
So the evidence is overwhelming. So when he is convicted, then before that same jury, you have to come back for a sentencing hearing. And when that happens, the jury has to be unanimous in giving him the death penalty. If it's not unanimous, then by default, he gets life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, when it came to those Idaho murders, I think that the prosecutors were either inexperienced or they got cold feet because they should have taken that case to trial to get the death penalty, and they didn't do it. They had overwhelming evidence in that case, so they failed to do it. Now, I think because of number one, the national attention that's being placed on this, coupled with two, the backing of the FBI and their resources, I'm hoping that the Utah prosecutors will go for the death penalty because they'll get it. It'll be overwhelmingly guilty, and they will get the death penalty on this guy.
So we did learn a few things here, and apparently the roommate is being very cooperative. And they got to see his phone. That's how they got the screen captures of all the messages. Apparently there was yesterday there was some reporting about a note that had been destroyed. My sense is because there was a description of a note that was underneath a keyboard, a computer keyboard that the roommate was instructed to read, in which, Brad, if we're looking at confessions here, we have several. We have confessions in the text messages. We have confessions in the letter. We have confessions on Discord. There's all kinds of confessions here all around from this guy. But, at one point, the roommate says, was this you that did this? And he admits that it was. And, then he says, how long have you been planning this? You'll hear this in some of the audio I'm going to play in a few minutes. He seems to indicate that he screwed up with leaving the gun behind. And he said, the quote is, had hoped to keep this secret until I died of old age. And seems to indicate, whoop, I kind of messed up here because now my DNA is on this gun. I have to go get the gun. So it seems as if he did act alone. The partner's cooperating. They, they've had a lot of cooperation, obviously, from the family as well. So there's information that is piling up, and maybe a lot more is becoming public than I ever thought, because when they read through these text messages, it's pretty, defining on what happened here.
It is. And even in one of those text messages between Tyler and the roommate, Tyler instructs the roommate to delete all of your text messages from me about this, which leads to one of the charges against Robinson of obstruction of justice, because he's instructing another person to destroy evidence. But listen, the roommate is going to continue to be very helpful, because he doesn't want to wind up in prison. Because I don't want to get too graphic on this, but if you go to prison and you're known as a furry, it's not going to turn out too well for you.
Right. Yeah. Have you kind of taken a look, or do you have some thoughts on the Pam Bondi stuff related to this with free speech?
I'm sorry, in terms of
what?
Well,
okay. So there's stories about this. So I'll play the audio to you, because for me, and I've said this, and you and I talked about this on Friday, I do think there's a difference between the average person going out there and saying despicable things on Instagram or Facebook or X, formerly Twitter, and people who are in, public officials, doctors, teachers, people who are in leadership positions. But Bondi says she's going after a lot more than that. And this is where I kind of get concerned, Brad. Check this out.
There's free speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people, so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Yes, I don't like that. And, one of the things that she said, she claimed she had the authority to investigate businesses that refuse to print memorial vigil posters. There's a little of that out there where someone goes into a Kinko's or something like that and they refuse to do it. Look, I am not comfortable with going after people in that particular area, especially because I guarantee, I said this earlier, Brad, you can go through my Twitter feed. It's been up there since 2008. I know that you can pick and choose things that would be deemed hateful, or inappropriate in some people's minds. So I think we do need to be a little careful here with what the Justice Department might be doing.
We do, Mark. And let me briefly address this, because number one, not only is it morally wrong to go after people because of the content of their speech, it's actually illegal. I mean, every single time the Supreme Court has dealt with this issue, most recently in 2017, in the case of Mattal versus Tam, and that was a unanimous decision that hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. Okay. And so listen, I don't want the government, just like I was against all of the people who were being canceled when they supported Trump over the years. And I was against that, and I came out against it. I'm going to come out against canceling or getting someone fired, particularly at the direction of the government, for anything they say about Charlie Kirk. Because listen, Charlie Kirk stood for two things. Number one, he was a bold Christian, and I applaud him for that. Number two, he was the most prolific advocate of free speech. And I think a way to dishonor Charlie Kirk's death here is to go against the very bedrock of his position, which was free speech.
I agree with that, except the one caveat I would have is that, look, I do think that some of these people have been fired appropriately because of the positions that they're in. I just think that some of this, look, there's teachers out there saying things that I would not want my daughter to have their teachers say. And I think that there's conduct that is unbecoming some people. Look, we all have codes of ethics. I have it here at 97.1. Easily I could cross the line. In fact, probably have. I know I have over the years. We know my HR file is very, very thick. But there's crossing the line, and then there's allowing people to have, hateful, vile speech, which we do have constitutionally protected and guaranteed in this country. So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of develops and what President Trump says about that, because there are people out there, and emotionally I can understand people saying, look, they should be fired. Their lives should be ruined. When you get into the doxing and the personal attacks and all that's what they do on their side. Let's not be a party to that. And I hope maybe Pam Bondi recognizes that her speech has to be, kept in check here a little bit too moving forward.
I just find it very, very interesting that in the aftermath of the deaths of Michael Brown and George Floyd, you had riots, you had fires, and you had looting. In the aftermath of the murder of Charlie Kirk, you had prayer vigils. Big difference between those two.
I would say significant, and that will continue. And by the way, there is a service that is going to take place for Charlie on Sunday. Some of the details are starting to get out. We're going to air that here on 97.1 FM Talk. Hey, how about the Tigers on Saturday? Again, I know it was a high school team, but I did make it up for the game, and I was in a suite, which was very fortunate, but they did what they had to do, and now they're ranked, 22nd and 23rd in a couple of the polls.
Oh, they are. They're ranked 23rd. And listen, I was really looking forward to the South Carolina game because at the time they were ranked, I think, 11th or 12th.
They were 11th, yeah.
But now that they've lost Lenora Sellers to an injury, don't know whether he's going to play, but certainly he won't be 100%, even if he does play. My bet is he doesn't play. And if you look at the stats of South Carolina, they have a non-existent running game. So whereas I think it was going to be a very legitimate game against a legitimate opponent, now I'm not so sure if Lenora Sellers is not 100%.
I agree with you, but it's still an SEC opponent, and you got to be careful. And I think the coaching staff's going to have this team ready and aware that, look, that you can't sit lightly on this team, even if they don't have some of their all-stars. Brad, thank you very much. We'll talk later in the week. Appreciate it.
My pleasure,
All right,
Mark.
we'll see. I'm going to play that audio because this exchange, when you hear this guy, and I played some of the audio from his news conference, Jeff Gray, who's the prosecutor in this, lays out the text exchange that took place in the hours after this assassination. It really is compelling. It's fascinating. It provides a lot of light on the motive here in this particular situation. That's coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident on the Illinois side, northbound 255 in the Dupo area at South Main in that area, and that's caused a jam. The worst of it this afternoon has been an accident eastbound 70 past Warrenton. So bad that they've closed eastbound 70 east of Warrenton, and they're diverting traffic onto Highway 47. Now, the westbound lanes are open, but there is a slowdown, and then things open up. We've got slow-moving traffic. There was an accident reported on the ramp from 70 in both directions to southbound 270, and that's created slow-moving traffic there. We've got kind of the usual volume on westbound 6440 out of downtown, approaching Kings Highway, and then in pockets out through 70. But an accident westbound 70 past Shreve has caused a jam through there. And an accident on the Illinois side, westbound 5570 at 111, that's created a jam. Southbound 55 on the Missouri side, slowing right at Bates. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
The Beach Boys, the Sounds of Summer Tour. This Sunday night at Chesterfield Amphitheater. The music, the memories, the Beach Boys, riding an endless summer wave. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. Don't miss the Beach Boys, the Sounds of Summer Tour, live.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-2523. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-2523. That's 800-575-2523. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, last week before all this happened, we were supposed to have Bill O'Reilly on the show last Wednesday. I think we have rescheduled him for tomorrow because of all the breaking news. We kind of create a little gap, but Bill will have certainly something to say on the last week's news events. So we'll let Bill O'Reilly from The Factor, who does stuff on BillO'Reilly.com, tomorrow afternoon. All right, so this is the, I don't often do this. This is a pretty big chunk of audio. It runs approximately 5 minutes, but you haven't heard it yet, Sue, right?
No.
So this is the prosecutor out in Utah, Jeff Gray. There was a court appearance that came after this, but when he was doing a news conference earlier this morning, they were talking about how some of the investigative things came together, how they found the guy, the parents were cooperating, the roommate was cooperating. They have all of the text messages that took place in the aftermath of this assassination. Apparently, the roommate knew nothing about it. Here is what they said to one another in the hours after the assassination.
Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting, and he did provide those messages to police. On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry."
So one of the things that popped there in that first exchange is, didn't it sound like he thought he was going to get away with it? You'll hear some of this other stuff. He seems to be concerned about DNA, but maybe he was just that delusional where he thought he can get away with all of this.
Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate, "Why?" Robinson, "Why did I do it?" Roommate, "Yeah." Robinson, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it." Roommate, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it."
So obviously he's focusing on trying to get the gun back. The roommate's asking questions like, what
are
hell is
you
going on
doing?
here? Then didn't that answer surprise you though, that it was only a week?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a quick turnaround, right?
"I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it." Robinson again, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with.
So just earlier, I want to make one reference here because I don't know that you'll hear this here, but when they were going through all of the particulars here, the dad who was trying to, confirm that he was the guy, he wanted visual evidence that the guy had the rifle, the 30-06, Grandpa's rifle. So he ignored the request. So it was a roundabout way of his father saying, look, you did this and you can't prove otherwise because you don't have, the rifle right now.
I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke, all right. I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K scope.
We're referring to the rifle scope, $2,000 scope. So that's a pretty expensive scope, and you can dial in pretty accurately to your target.
Wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who
there you go.
Has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent.
Well, he was not staying silent. The roommate is cooperating. So that was the very latest. We got a lot more details today about all this.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, the major traffic issue this afternoon has been an accident eastbound 70 between Warrenton and Wright City. They've shut down the eastbound lanes and have been diverting traffic onto Highway 47 in Warrenton. A real jam behind that. Westbound drivers are slowing as well. Now, the other accident that we had was on westbound 44 at 55, and it left us with a jam underneath the Poplar Street Bridge and a little bit onto 70. 70 westbound, an accident past Shreve caused a delay there. An accident on the Illinois side, westbound 5570 at 111. That has created a huge jam. And other than that, it looks like the usual volume. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I always like highlighting anniversaries, and I think it's awesome that Pella Windows are celebrating their 100th year in business this year. And Banner Construction is a company here in St. Louis that's been around since 1993. They had an awesome 30-year anniversary we highlighted a couple of years ago. But it's important to note that Pella is one of the biggest names in replacement windows and doors. James Hardy, one of the biggest names in all of siding. The durability, the aesthetic appeal. It's beautiful premium siding, and they specialize in it at Banner Construction. There's a video that's up on the website. You can do like a flyover. You can see exactly what the Hardy siding looks like on homes. You can see, if you click on the showcase, some homes in our area from Baldwin to Creve Coeur to the city of St. Louis that have had really, really unique colors put on them with some softened in fascia that offsets and really highlights the unique colors. The siding, the James Hardy siding, comes in an amazing assortment of styles and colors, of course, price points, and they can guide you through all of that at Banner Construction. It's a free in-home design consultation, 314-569-1050. The website, bannerconstruction.com.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
From Alton to Wildwood, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, it's been just a bit since we've had a great visit from CBS News tech contributor Ian Sherr. He's with us tonight to talk a little bit about some things that have happened in the past week. Hello, Ian. How are you? Welcome back. I've missed you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I think it was a week ago today, before all the craziness sort of unfolded on the national stage with Utah, that Apple held its annual event and they unveiled the iPhone 17 and a few other things. So we thought we would get caught up. First of all, they unveiled something called the iPhone Air. What's up with that?
Yeah. So part of what Apple's been trying to do is that, they've got their normal kind of $799 iPhone. That's the starter one, the iPhone 17 this year. But they haven't ever been able to figure out what works for the next step up from that. They've tried stuff like the iPhone mini, right? That happened around 3 or 4 years ago. And they also tried stuff with the iPhone, the larger iPhone that they would sell, the Plus. And they didn't really sell very well. So now what they're doing is they're using that spot, the $1,000 iPhone, to show off what they say is kind of future technology, right? The ability to make an iPhone so thin that really, I mean, it is rather impressive if you see the photos. They hold it on someone's finger like a basketball, although I'm sure they found someone who's like the fattest finger at Apple to make it look as nice as possible. But, they say that they're able to provide not just a super thin iPhone, but also one that has what they say is all-day battery life. And we haven't gotten all the reviews on it yet, right? So people are still figuring out whether or not the professional reviewers are seeing whether or not it moves through the paces. But the fact that Apple is able to make this thing is rather impressive, and seeing it up against all the other iPhones, right, and how thick they are. And the fact that it still has decent battery life is something else.
Apparently, the camera, there is some compromise, so you don't have the camera. What I think we're going to head toward, just as someone who is a fan of iPhones and Apple products overall, is that in a few years, we'll be talking about this thinner design, and it will have all the cool things that the 17 Pro and all these other Pros have. They're just trying to figure it out, its evolution with the technology, because I think thinner certainly would be something that customers would be interested in. My biggest, I have my phone, and I have a case around my phone that I use as kind of my wallet. My cards are in the back. It's clunky, so I can put it in my shorts or in my jeans or whatever, but it's still a little clunky. But I like the bigger phone. I like the larger phone. If I could get this phone and have it new, sleeker design with the same, screen size, I think that's what I would go for. And maybe eventually that's where we land.
Yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of people are thinking. There's also a lot of talk about how Apple is trying to make a folding phone. Samsung has their Galaxy Fold, which is not a cheap device. It's $2,000, right? So not very many people buy it. But it is a rather impressive feat of technology. And Google has one as right, the Pixel Fold. And Apple has kind of been left out of this. And the promise of it is really cool. Like, take a tablet, be able to fold it in half. Now it's a phone. That's amazing. So there's, on some level, a lot of people think that they're just showing off the half of the fold, right? They're saying, look at what we can do, how thin we can make it. Now you stack two of them on top of each other and you've got a really nice phone. So that's also kind of what a lot of people are seeing when they look at it.
So Ian Sherr is here from CBS, tech expert. The 17 and the 17 Pro, significant differences from the 16 and the 16 Pro or not?
It really, the kind of general consensus has been for the last few years that if you're upgrading from last year's iPhone, you're not really getting a lot. But most people statistically are now upgrading every 2 or 3 years, or even longer. So for those people, it's significant changes. And that's kind of how Apple's designed it now, is that, year to year, you're not going to be terribly impressed. But those changes stack up to a point where the camera is much different from what it was 3 or 4 years ago. The speed of the phone is that much different. They've added stuff like the camera control button, and they've gotten rid of the mute switch over the last 2 years. So people upgrading, every 3 years are going to feel a very different experience because of that. So, the general, again, we haven't gotten the reviews that are official and the professionals, but the general consensus is that when you look at the specs and you look at what does the iPhone 17 offer that the 16 didn't, it's not that different.
So if I look at I'm just trying to see if I have a software update, because there's also new software. It's iOS 26, right? So that always, even if you have, whatever phone you have, you're able to update the software. It's recommended, of course, that you do. Sometimes there's some bugs that they have to correct. Yet it looks like for me, I do not have the iOS 26. What the hell? Mine says 18.7. How would that be? That number doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I'd have to see your phone personally, but
because it says then also available
people,
update to iOS 26. So I have no idea what's going on with the number of my software. That's weird.
So at the bottom, what Apple does is that they try not to be too pushy. So they know that the security updates and the updates to the capabilities and everything, they say it's worth it. But a lot of people have criticized Apple and said, well, when I get these software updates every September, my phone gets slower.
Yes.
So you're just trying to force me to update my phone. And so what Apple did is they said, okay, we're not going to force it. And what they do instead is that they put it at the bottom of the software update thing. So
that's where it
if you go into the software update and you look at the bottom of the screen and say, oh, this is also available. And at some point, they're going to force everyone over, but not for quite a while. And part of that is a reaction to the negative response they've gotten, that even though they offer the software for years old phones, which is something that most other companies don't do, people still think that there's a conspiracy out there to force us all to upgrade, and Apple just doesn't want to deal with people complaining about it. So that
makes sense, because
I
know people do complain about it. I'm usually, okay, I want to get the new software, and then I want to read what the new features are and try to use them. Now, there's something I was looking at, I think it's a Washington Post piece that talks about this update, and it says something about liquid glass. I have no idea what that is. What is liquid glass, and how does it affect, the phone with this software update?
Well, if you're super techie, you will notice that what it does is it's a new look for the phone. So every couple of years, Apple plays around with the visual design, right, and what the buttons look like and everything. So this time around, what they're calling it is liquid glass, and what they kind of make it seem like is kind of if you imagine one of those magnifying glasses that you can put on a piece of paper. That it kind of gives that effect, but for the phone. And all of the buttons and everything have this new kind of shiny texture to them. For most people, it's not going to matter. The best thing about it is that Apple, when they do this, they spend a lot of time thinking about, hey, where are the button placements at the best places for everybody? Does it all make the most sense? Are there things that we do that are confusing? So, for example, the camera is one of those things. I see it all the time. People who are trying to kind of fiddle with their camera to get it the right setting for whatever they want to do. And in theory, Apple should be able to make a phone where the camera is just what you want every time.
Yes.
And so they've made some adjustments to it that a lot of the people out there who've tried it say, hey, this is actually a better design for the app and easier to understand.
Got it. Well, I'm going to probably download this tonight. One other thing before I let you go, this is Chat GPT related, but they're doing some new parental controls. Is this I always wonder how, high school papers and all this stuff is being, conducted. My wife uses Chat GPT quite a bit professionally, and really makes good use of it. I think she's thrilled that she can use it. But so what's new with the parental controls?
Yeah, so one of the things that there's been a lot of concern about is we're seeing more and more stories of people in mental distress that are kind of being pushed to an extreme by these chat sessions sometimes they have with these bots. And a lot of people know, hey, if you need help, you should seek out a human therapist, but not everyone always has one available or whatever. And even I have found that every once in a while, if I'm in the middle of kind of a stressful moment and I'm trying to work on something in ChatGPT, I'll just, as if I'm texting a friend, I'll just say, I'm having a rough day.
Right.
And we'll start a conversation that way. So the parental controls are actually for parents to be able to control what their kids experience there. There's a lot of concern that teenagers who are in mental distress are getting, that the technology is not built to be safe enough for them. And in fact, the Federal Trade Commission recently asked all of the AI companies to provide information about the data they have on how children are using their features. So, these companies, for the most part, have said, hey, we always encourage it be adults, and that we have warnings on the screen that tell you, don't take this seriously and everything. But of course, that doesn't work for everybody. And so that's part of why they say, look, we're going to try and at least add some features. I don't know if it's going to be enough, honestly, but that's their reason that they're doing it.
Ian, Sherr, I hope you had a great summer. We have fall approaching. Hope all is well in your world. We'll have to touch base a little bit more on technology here in the next few months before the holidays. Great to hook up.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ian.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Okay, on the roads, the worst of it is a serious accident out west, and they've shut down eastbound 70 just east of Warrenton. And as a result, traffic is being diverted onto Highway 47, and we've just got a parking lot behind it. That is definitely the worst of it. Now, we've also had some other issues. On the Illinois side, an accident westbound 5570 at 111, and they shut down traffic east or west of there. So just a mess. And then an accident on the Missouri side, westbound 44 at the 55 split. Ooh, there's a jam behind that. Now, westbound 40 is lining up. Kings Highway out past McCausland, just the usual volume there. And southbound 170 has slow pockets south of Olive down through 64. 55 looks okay at Bates, all because the traffic is jammed north of there. So take it easy this evening. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Scott Jennings here. I'm excited to be part of the St. Louis conservative conversation, cutting through the noise with unfiltered common sense.
Scott Jennings.
Weekdays at 8 p.m.
on 97.1 FM Talk.
Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Learn more at MissouriBrushControl.com. Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property, manage vegetation, and clear land for better views. Enjoy your land the way you've always dreamed of. Missouri Brush Control, making acreage great again. Visit MissouriBrushControl.com.
I would like to recommend that as you head into the fall, if you have not had your eyes checked in a while, it's always a great idea to have an annual eye health exam. If you haven't done it in a while, then it's even more important. I want you to head into the doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. Now, we call them the doctors because 250 doctors go and see the doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. So you might want to consider it as well. Allergies are always a problem. Eye exams are a great way to catch other eye issues as well. Truth be told, I had an eye disease some 30 plus years ago, almost 40 years ago at this point. Had to get a silicone buckle that was put around my right eye, so I only wear one contact, but I keep really good track. I know if something's not right in the eyes or if I have pain that's unusual, I make sure I get checked right away. The doctors at Ophthalmology Associates, they're experts in the diagnosis and treatment of all diseases of the eye. And maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just LASIK that you're interested in or something else. They can help you with a great office experience. The team at Ophthalmology Associates, top notch. I promise you that. 314-966-5000. The website, youridoc.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
You know, September makes me think of football, and they are celebrating at Zero Res. Right now, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at $129 and take $75 off your air duct cleaning through the end of the month of September. That's great. Of course, you're going to have people over to watch the big game. You want to have the house clean. Call the cleaning heroes at Zero Res to clean up all of those fumble moments you might have in your house. They can clean up the dust, the dander, the bacteria in your carpet from a whole summer full of fun. And then they'll get the yuck out of your air ducts as well. So let them work on your carpet, your tiles, your upholstery, your hardwood. Every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. It is time to give them a call today, 314-474-2020. Tell them you want the 97.1 special. That's 314-474-2020. Schedule your appointment online at ZeroResSTL.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, let's get right to our audio cut of the day segment.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, I played you that big part of the news conference from this morning where the prosecutor, Jeff Gray in Utah, sort of, unveils all these charges. Listen to what this ABC reporter had to say about all of that audio that you heard just a short time ago, because he was texting his partner, right? Romantic partner, who was a biological male becoming a female. I think that's what we got today. But here's what the ABC reporter says.
We have seen an alleged murder with such specific text messages about the alleged murder weapon, where it was hidden, how it was placed, what was on it. But also, it was very touching in a way that I think many of us didn't expect. A very intimate portrait into this relationship between the suspect's roommate and the suspect himself, with him repeatedly calling his roommate, who is transitioning, calling him my love, and I want to protect you, my love. So it was this duality of someone who the attorney said not only jeopardized the life of Charlie Kirk and the crowd, but was doing it in front of children. Which
I can just stop it right there. But that's the tone? It was quite touching, seeing a bullet go through the neck of Charlie Kirk, and his kids will have to relive that moment for the rest of their lives because it's out there. Then there's Senator Schmidt, who obliterates this whole both sides BS coming from the left, and he does it in under 2 minutes.
We've heard years of the left, their loudest voices calling anyone on the right extremist MAGA Republicans, fascists, Nazis, an existential threat to democracy. Check yourself. And don't give me this both sides bullshit. Mr. Director, I want to ask you, tell me if each one of the following perpetrators or alleged perpetrators were acting from a left-wing or right-wing political violence. The man who tried to kill Republican congressman at the congressional baseball practice, nearly killing House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, left-wing or right-wing violence?
Sir, I believe it was a left-wing ideology.
Okay. Burned down cities during the Summer of Love in the George Floyd riots, left-wing violence or right-wing violence?
Sir, I'll rely on you on these. I don't have off the top of my head.
Okay, left-wing. The Waukesha Christmas Parade massacre, left-wing or right-wing violence? Left-wing. The Lee Zeldin stabbing attempt, left wing or right wing? Left wing. The Covenant school shooting in Nashville, left wing or right wing? Left wing. The Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt on President Trump, left wing or right wing? Left wing. The Trump International West Palm Beach assassination attempt, left wing. The Abundant Life Christian school shooting, left wing. The United Care CEO's murder, left wing. Tesla's burned, keyed, damaged, firebombed, left wing, left wing. The murders at the Israeli embassy, left wing. The ICE facilities firebombed, left wing. The Minnesota Catholic school shooting, left wing. The anti-white Charlotte and North Carolina stabbing, left wing. The attempted Utah News State firebombing, left wing. And now, of course, the culmination of this vile trend, a left-wing assassination of Charlie Kirk. So don't give me this both sides. If we want to get to unity, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Free speech, yes. Political violence, no. But let's be honest.
There is your audio cut of the day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
The biggest issue has been this afternoon the closure of eastbound 70 east of Warrenton. This, of course, due to an accident in that area. Traffic is still being diverted onto Highway 47 around that accident. Now, we also have an accident on the Illinois side, westbound 5570 at 111. There was an accident on the Missouri side, westbound 44 at the 55 split. We still have heavy traffic there. And southbound 170, south of Delmar, an accident reported. Other than that, we're thinning out nicely. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, we had Mike Reynolds on for a short little stint yesterday, right after 4 o'clock, before Sue's News, because I had a bit of a carpet mystery. There is a hole in the middle of my downstairs carpet. I know that the culprits are narrowed down to the bunny, Oreo, my Dutch bunny, or my puppy, Max. Could be him, too, because he's been going at the carpet. But it's weird because it was like a crop circle in the middle of my carpet. Mike and the team are going to have to come over and do some repairs because Max, the puppy, literally peeled back a good portion of the carpeting that was already chewed up by the bunny. You can depend on Michaels, though, for repairs, and they can do so much more than just put you into new flooring. But that's what they specialize in. You need new hard flooring. You need new silky soft carpeting from Mohawk. They got you covered with 3 great locations open every day of the week except for Sunday. Mike and the team get off on Sunday very generously, which is appropriate. But they're in Old Town St. Peter's, in Creve Coeur on Olive, and there's a store in Darden Prairie. And the website's got everything that you could ever want. You can even order some samples from that site, get some inspiration, apply for financing, and read some of the rave reviews. IGotFloor.com for Michael's Flooring Outlet. Check them out online at IGotFloor.com. And do me a huge favor, because this always helps. Mike and the team are great sponsors here at 97.1 FM Talk. Tell them that we sent you along. Don't trust a big box store to your carpeting and flooring needs. Trust Michael's Flooring Outlet. IGotFloor.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve.